Chapter 345. Yi Hua sat on the chair, and a vicious aura was being emitted out from his body. This caused Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji to be very worried, but there was nothing they could do. No matter what, I have to make Yi Hua change a little and stop treating human life as a game. Right now, Yi Hua was very disappointed in Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji. Extremely disappointed. As my wife, not only did they not do their duty well, they even helped an outsider to reprimand me? They didn't even believe his words. This was absolutely intolerable. Don't expect me to put on a show again. That's absolutely impossible. Last time, I was at fault, and in order to redeem myself, I admitted it. But this time, don't even think about it. The three of them sat in the hall and did not speak, and Yi Hua was smoking one cigarette after another. After quite a while, space distorted, and Death Mage and Sun Fong appeared at the scene. GGG. Royal Translator. Boss. Sun Fong also greeted respectfully. Boss. Wei Chong had already instructed them to skip the honorific and just call him boss. Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji looked towards the black robe. They never expected that the black robe would actually be a skeleton. His hair stood on end. Dare I ask, how did a skeleton humiliate the beauty beside him? Both Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. Go ahead and ask. Yi Hua said coldly. Sun Fong said to the two ladies, Madams, I am Sun Fong, the previous sect master of Cloud Sect. Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji were very puzzled. Why would such a beautiful woman be on good terms with a skeleton? This isn't an act, right? Madams, you can ask me if you have any questions. It needs to type to speak, so it's rather slow, Sun Fong said softly. Death Mage took out his phone and typed a few words, then showed his phone. I can't talk. This time, the two women were even more shocked. A skeleton that couldn't speak. How could there be such a woman? What was wrong with this world? Qing Ya looked towards the angry Yi Hua and felt that her brain wasn't enough to process what was going on. Sun Fong, did he violate you before? Qing Ya asked curiously. Sun Fong nodded. Yes. Qing Ya and Donghuang Baiji's expression immediately changed. However, Sun Fong continued. However, I did it voluntarily. The two girls were embarrassed. Seeing the two madams' confusion, Sun Fong naturally knew that back in the Ying family, there were many people who had the same question. Why did such a beautiful person end up with a skeleton? Sun Fong actually wanted to say that the little skeleton's body was tough and she couldn't beat it in any way. The two madams must be very puzzled. Actually, I don't know why I like skeletons either. He doesn't even have a single piece of meat on his body. Even when I hug him, he's stiff. But it can make me laugh and make me feel better. Isn't this the feeling that we women have always wanted? Love knows no race. Although it sometimes angers me, it can quickly coax me. I still have to praise it for this. Looking at the blissful smile on Sun Fong's face, the two women felt that she wasn't lying, but they still couldn't believe it. Look at others, then look at yourselves. Yi Hua, who was sitting at the side, said coldly. How good is my subordinate's wife? My subordinate's wife and my subordinate's wife are so loving and have never quarreled with each other. Looking at my own wife, I really can't compare her with my subordinate's wife. Alright, regarding this matter, Qing Ya felt that she had misunderstood Yi Hua. She finally let out a sigh of relief in her heart. After all, Yi Hua didn't help the evildoer. However, Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, said with a taut face, Yi Hua, I have always wanted to ask you, how did you get those things in the storage room? Last time, when Donghuang Baiji saw those things, she was very shocked. However, in the end, she didn't ask about it anymore. During this period of time, she had been too sweet and had forgotten about it. Now that she remembered about it, she decided to ask about it. Yi Hua pointed at Death Mage. He sent them over. Donghuang Baiji looked towards Death Mage and asked, How did you get those betrothal gifts? Death Mage was very honest. After all, it was the madam who asked about it. Death Mage typed on his phone, and soon after, his phone lit up. 2 words. Snatched. After taking a look, Yi Hua said faintly, Well snatched. GGG, Imperial Translation. Thank you, Your Honor, for your praise. Donghuang Baiji's face immediately sunk as she asked, Where is he? Death Mage continued typing. It was still 2 words. Killed. Yi Hua said faintly, Well killed. My husband's men killed my subordinates? My husband was still cheering at the side. Donghuang Baiji shouted out. Yi Hua, aren't you going to explain yourself? Yi Hua stood up and looked at Donghuang Baiji. What do you want me to explain? Without my permission, you actually went to send betrothal gifts. Fortunately, my subordinates coincidentally snatched the betrothal gifts. If not, you would have given me a green hat. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Donghuang Baiji was actually speechless. However, she still felt uncomfortable in her heart. But your subordinates killed my subordinates. Baiji, if you didn't go and send betrothal gifts, would your subordinates have died? Could it be that you want my subordinates to take the blame? Yi Hua shouted out coldly. He didn't look like a madam at all. Donghuang Baiji stared at Yi Hua, seemingly wanting Yi Hua to give her an explanation. In any case, I am the Empress of Voidless Realm. Since my subordinates died in vain, I should at least seek justice for them, right? In actuality, if Yi Hua were to apologize right now, everything would be fine. With just a bit of cowardice, the two beauties would be in his arms again. However, this time, Yi Hua wouldn't pamper them anymore. Baiji, what kind of expression is that? Could it be that you want me to punish my subordinates? Yi Hua shouted out sternly. Shouldn't it be? Donghuang Baiji asked back. Yi Hua could be considered to be quite angered by the two women today. He said gravely, Qingya Baiji, let me tell the two of you that is impossible. There is no need for me, Yi Hua, to ask the two of you what I do. You! Donghuang Baiji was also angered by Yi Hua. Qingya pulled onto Donghuang Baiji and said lightly to Yi Hua, Yi Hua, can we both calm down for a bit? Calm down? I will never calm down in my entire life. I will do whatever I have to do. Seeing that Yi Hua's emotions were very great, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji discussed with each other in a low voice. In the end, Qingya said, Yi Hua, Baiji and I will go to Voidless Realm to stay for a period of time. You should properly think about it. After thinking it through, come to Voidless Realm and look for us. Yi Hua was angered to the point that he laughed. You two want to leave again? You two are truly treating my doting as donkey's liver and lungs. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. Fine. All of you scram. Do you all really think that I will die without the two of you? Seeing Yi Hua acting like this, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji couldn't bear to see Yi Hua acting like this. After all, Yi Hua had sacrificed a lot for them. However, Yi Hua truly had a lot of bad habits. For the sake of the future, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt that there was a need for Yi Hua to properly think about it. Donghuang Baiji said calmly, Yi Hua, I will bring Ali back to Voidless Realm first. After you think it through, come and bring us back. Yi Hua, there are actually a lot of things that can be properly solved. Qingya persuaded tenderly. Yi Hua stamped on the cigarette butt and said gravely, Qingya, Baiji, I will prove to the two of you that those theories of yours are completely bullshit. Seeing that Yi Hua was still acting like this, the two women let out a sigh, then disappeared from the hall. Seeing that his wives had disappeared, Yi Hua picked up the wine bottle and smashed it onto the ground. Those two foolish women really left. Chapter 346. Death Mage and Sun Fang also left silently. Right now, His Honor's mood is definitely not good. I heard that His Honor would threaten his subordinates to break up with him for no reason at all. Right now, His Honor is not having a good time, and His Honor will definitely not let the subordinate have a good time. Brother-in-law, Ali was taken away by her mother. Qing Yutong suddenly ran over. Got it, do as you wish. Yi Hua shouted out gravely. That. What about my big sister? Qing Yutong asked weakly. All of them ran away from home. After finished speaking, Yi Hua lit a cigarette and went upstairs. Sitting on the sofa in the office, Yi Hua decided on one thing. I'm going to let them see that the so-called mercy is actually just a joke. In actuality, Yi Hua should be rejoicing. This was only a small part of the secret that was discovered by Qingya. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji would never say that they would wait for you. However, that was no longer important. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette butt, and his gaze was deep and eerie. I, the Supreme Overlord, want you all to beg me to come back. I will also let you know that there is no such thing as mercy in this world. With the caress of the large hand, the office began to distort and gradually turned into another scene. No one knew when the sofa had turned into a throne, but this was a throne piled up with skeletons. Among them were human skulls, huge orc skulls, rare elven skulls, and even dragon skulls. All the skulls were intertwined together, forming a terrifying and sinister throne. Right now, Yi Hua had already shed off his physical body and revealed his most primitive state. However, very quickly, a set of 7-colored divine light armor materialized on his body. The surrounding darkness was lit up by the divine light. Multicolored light lingered around the darkness, raging flames surged and rolled, and waves of overflowing aura seemed as if it was going to devour the entire world. Meanwhile, the palace that was illuminated by the rainbow divine light also revealed its original appearance. This was Yi Hua's former meeting hall. The long passageway was so dark that the end couldn't be seen. The floor was covered with a bright red carpet made from the bodies of young crystal dragons. This long tunnel had basically slaughtered the entire crystal dragon race. As for the huge pillar, it was the body of the ancient anaconda that had been placed there after it had been petrified. As for those innumerable pillars, it was unknown how many ancient giant pythons had died. The entire palace was built with all kinds of strange corpses. It exuded a cold and gloomy aura. If a normal person came here, they would definitely be scared to death. Because even if these divine beasts were dead, their power still remained. Yi Hua was sitting on the throne of skeletons, and his index finger was tapping on the skull of an elf. If he did not remember wrongly, this skull was the skull of an elf queen. Wei Chong. Ligu. Absolute heaven. Yi Zizi. Yi Hua shouted gravely. Hearing that his honor had summoned them with a different tone, the 7 deadly sins did not dare to be negligent in the slightest, and all of them rushed over. This time, his honor was no longer cleaning the toilet in the bar. Instead, his honor had returned to the royal palace. This caused the hearts of his honor's 4 subordinates to sink. This time, his honor is truly angry. Subordinates pay respect to your honor. The 7 deadly sins did not dare to be careless in the slightest as they respectfully greeted Yi Hua, who was seated on the throne. The evil aura that was being emitted out from Yi Hua's body unconsciously. Even though it was a god beast that had already died, Yi Hua still seemed to be afraid of Yi Hua. Your honor, please quell your anger. The 4 men hurriedly kneeled onto the ground. For his honor to be angry, it is definitely our fault. Yi Hua slowly said, I had thought that I would be able to enjoy my life for a few days, but it seems like it was still an extravagant hope. The 4 men remained silent. After a long while, Wei Chong said coldly, Xiao family has to take full responsibility for this matter. If your honor allows it, subordinate will go and exterminate the entire Xiao family right now and offer their heads to your honor. Yi Hua looked at Wei Chong, then said gravely, No. This time, my target is not Xiao family, but Voidless Realm. The 7 deadly sins were startled, not understanding what his honor meant. Your honor, Madame Donghuang is the Empress of Voidless Realm, and your honor's target is Voidless Realm? Zhu Tian still didn't know what was going on, and he was still puzzled. Lai Gu and Yi Zizi didn't say anything, fearing that they would say something wrong. Yi Hua snorted coldly. Zhu Tian immediately bowed down to express his apology. The 2 madams still don't know how deep the water in this world is. If that's the case, I will give them a good lesson. Yi Hua's tone was just like a cold spring from hell, causing one's hair to stand on end. Originally, I planned to let the North and South fight against each other, but after the South suffered disastrous losses, I have a new plan. The eyes of the 4 men lit up, especially Yi Zizi. Yi Hua said coldly, I want all of the powers in the North to attack Voidless Realm willingly. Lai Gu hurriedly said, Your honor, are we going to show off our acting skills on stage again? No. This time we will not move. The 4 men were immediately stupefied, not knowing what his honor was trying to do. I want to let them know a principle, no matter how good they are to anyone, for their own benefit. Benevolence is nothing. Zhu Tian understood what his honor meant. The 2 madams are definitely kind-hearted, and they angered his honor. Thus, his honor wants to teach the 2 madams a lesson and let them understand the truth of blood. Your honor, leave this matter to subordinate. Zhu Tian bowed down and said. He was willing to be the leader this time. With Zhu Tian being the leader, Yi Hua was rather at ease. Zhu Tian, go ahead and do it. Let them know what cruelty is. What betrayal is. What the human heart is. Subordinate understands. Zhu Tian decided that this time, he will definitely do it beautifully and make his honor satisfied. Yi Hua said faintly, "Let's start with Xiao family. I want Qingya to take the initiative to kill everyone in Xiao family. Also, go and investigate the case of Dongfang family from 100 years ago. I want to see how many people they can protect." This time, Yi Hua was being serious. Women cannot be spoiled too much. If I spoil them too much, they will go to heaven. This time, Yi Hua's intention was very simple, but it was very difficult to carry it out. For example, if I want Qingya to take the initiative to slaughter Xiao family, I will need a reason. This time, not only was this a lesson for the two wives, it was also a test for Yi Hua himself. Subordinate will obey your honor's command. Yi Hua slowly stood up then warned, "Don't treat them as your madams. Just do what you need to do. I will not allow them to throw a tantrum anymore." Yes. If they can't even pass such a small obstacle, they aren't worthy to be your madams. After finished speaking, Yi Hua disappeared from the throne. After Yi Hua left, the four men looked at each other. In the past, they were enemies, and this time, the enemies are indeed the two madams. Furthermore, to let the two madams have a taste of all kinds of things, the difficulty is not just a small one. I still have to go to school tomorrow. I will be going back to sleep. After speaking, Yi Zizi disappeared. Lai Gu let out a sigh. His honor is angry this time. That's right, this time, the difficulty is even greater than acting. Wei Cheng sighed. Zhu Tian's expression didn't have much fluctuation as he said indifferently, "His honor's way of doing things is correct. The two madams' benevolence is the same as being cruel to themselves. After all, we don't need merciful madams." Chapter 347. Wei Cheng and Lai Gu nodded their heads, expressing that they agreed with Wei Cheng's viewpoint. "All right, you two have a nice chat. I'll go back and be a warrior on the bed. Let me know if you make any big moves." After speaking, Lai Gu also disappeared from the palace hall. It feels so good to return to this familiar place. This smell of blood is really addicting, causing me to feel restless. Only Wei Cheng and Absolute Heaven remained in the empty hall. "Let me know if you need any manpower." Lai Gu was very generous. Recently, the demons and ghosts in Longan City were more or less cleared out by his underlings, and the two of them were extremely bored. Absolute Heaven did not stand on ceremony. "All right. Your honor's mission this time around is rather difficult. You have to pay attention to it." Wei Cheng couldn't help but remind Yi Hua. Absolute Heaven also knew how difficult this matter was. "Relax. Have you all forgotten what I used to do?" Wei Cheng laughed lightly. Thinking about it, Absolute Heaven had brought despair to mankind in the past. Only this time, his target had changed to the two madams. This time, his honor is truly heartless. I hope that the two madams will be able to hold on. "All right, I'll be leaving first. I still have lessons to teach tomorrow," Zhu Tian said indifferently. Lai Gu teased, "There should be a lot of beauties in Zijin University, aren't you going to consider?" "I'm not interested in women." After finished speaking, Zhu Tian left. This cold and detached temperament of his was even deeper than Yi Hua's. He was truly a cold and aloof Prince Charming. Wei Cheng smiled. "In the past, I wasn't interested in women, but after coming into contact with Tang Wei, I changed my mind." Right now, Yi Hua was standing beside the window and smoking a cigarette. Looking at the night sky of Longan City, his gaze was emitting out coldness. "Brother-in-law?" Qing Yutong knocked on the door and called out lightly. Yi Hua silently took a look at his sister-in-law, then turned his gaze towards the night sky. Qing Yutong pursed her lips, seemingly feeling that her brother-in-law had returned to his original state. During this period of time, brother-in-law had finally changed a little. He would even smile from time to time. It would probably be hard to see brother-in-law smile in the future. "Brother-in-law, why don't you tell my sister and Bai Ji about your identity? They will understand." Qing Yutong naturally didn't want to see her big sister and brother-in-law fall out. After all, they were all a family. What was there to quarrel about? Even if there was a disagreement, wouldn't it be fine as long as everyone took a step back? Yi Hua said coldly, "Identity? Why not tell them? If I were to bring the two of them out, it would simply be a disgrace." "Aren't you affected by your bloodline?" "Humph, The influence of my bloodline? Even if she doesn't have this bloodline, she's still the same. She's soft-hearted. Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette, but that was in his hand, then sat down on the sofa. Coldness filled the space between Yi Hua's brows. This time, I will not let them off. Qing Yutong sat at Yi Hua's side and said attentively, "In the past, Big Sister has never come into contact with these things, and I only know how to do business. Only after following brother-in-law did I come to know of some things. There has to be a process, right? I'm giving them the process right now. It will be a very unforgettable process." Qing Yutong also didn't want her big sister to suffer a lot of pain, thus Qing Yutong pulled onto her brother-in-law's arm and said coquettishly, "Brother-in-law, big sister still loves you, you have to be magnanimous, just punish her a little and it will be fine." Turning his head around, Yi Hua looked at his sister-in-law and said gravely, "Do you also want to experience the process?" "Oh, I forgot to turn off my computer. Brother-in-law, you should rest early and pretend that I didn't say anything." After finished speaking, Qing Yutong slipped away. "Big sister, don't blame this little sister. This little sister has already pleaded for leniency for you. Just that this time, you really angered brother-in-law." However, Qing Yutong also knew that brother-in-law wouldn't hurt big sister too much. He just wanted big sister to understand some principles, that's all. Although it was a bit cruel, it was still beneficial to big sister. If Qingya was half as sensible as his little sister, Yi Hua wouldn't be so troubled. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yi Hua leaned on the sofa and pondered. "I have to let Qingya and Baiji understand that their benevolence will only be used by their enemies." "Wei Chang," Yi Hua called out gravely. Very quickly, Wei Chang's figure appeared in the office. "Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Release the control over Xiao family." Although Wei Chang was puzzled, he didn't dare to ask too much. "Understood, subordinate will go and pass on the message right away." After Wei Chang left, Yi Hua lit up another cigarette, and his black pupils became deep. "Xiao family is making use of your kindness, then take a look at Xiao family's true colors." During these few days, Xiao Yi didn't sleep well, fearing that something would happen. Sitting in the pavilion in the courtyard, Xiao Yi was wearing high-end silk pajamas and drinking tea. "Brother Xiao, you're not asleep yet?" Xu Nan leisurely walked over and stood behind Xiao Yi, massaging her husband. Xiao Yi sighed. "Is doing this right or wrong?" "Brother Xiao, things have already come to this. Why are you still thinking about right and wrong?" Xu Nan said gently. One must know that Yi Hua felt that Xiao family was somewhat useful, and thus, Yi Hua decided to make use of Xiao family. This meant that Xiao family had obtained Yi Hua's protection. To be able to obtain the protection of a supreme being was such a great honor. Unfortunately, the Xiao family did not want to be a notch lower than others or be controlled by others. The consequences of such a decision were very serious. Just as the two of them were discussing this matter, the void twisted. Xiao Yi and Xu Nan's faces sank and they quickly stood up. A lump of black fog appeared in front of the two people's eyes. Wei Chang wished that he could directly behead these two people. Back then they ran over to his honor and begged for his life, and right now, they are stabbing his honor in the back. Xu Nan pulled her husband and Xiao Yi helplessly knelt on the ground. "I came here today just to pass on a message. In the future, I won't care about Xiao family's matters anymore. You two better take care of yourselves." Hearing what Wei Chang said, Xiao Yi and Xu Nan were immediately astonished. "It's really effective. Could it be that this lump of black fog is Qingya's husband? That leisure bar's boss? Is he just not willing to reveal his true identity? You two are thinking too much. Yi Hua disdains to come here and say such things." However, since Wei Chang had already achieved his goal, Xiao Yi said gravely, "Thank you." Wei Chang spread out his palm, and Xiao Yi felt that there was a strange movement within his body. A trace of black fog could be seen coming out from Xiao Yi's body, and the black fog immediately fused with the black fog. After doing all that, Wei Chang left. What his honor can bestow upon you, he can also take back. Xiao Yi's face was pale and powerless, and his breathing was even more hurried. Just now, when that trace of black fog came out from his body, I felt that it took away a lot of my strength. Right now, I have returned back to my original strength. Brother Xiao. Xu Nan held on to her husband. Xiao Yi said weakly, "This is good as well, at least, I won't be restricted by others." Xu Nan didn't say anything, but he felt that the Xiao family had done a foolish thing. They were strong, but they didn't rely on them. Instead, they wanted to leave. In Voidless Realm, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were sitting in Ali's courtyard. The two of them had a look of hidden bitterness on their faces, just like a wife who ran away from home, and yet, her husband actually didn't chase after her. The two of them were indeed a bit arrogant. They thought that Yihua cared about them a lot, that he would spoil them a lot, and that he would change for them. Furthermore, they believed that after they came out from the Voidless Realm, Yihua would come and pick them up very soon. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji had already thought of what to say to Yihua, but it was a pity that after waiting for 2 hours, Yihua still didn't come. "Mommy, when are we going home?" Donghuang Li, who was playing at the side, ran over while sweating profusely and asked. Donghuang Baiji smiled tenderly. "Soon, Daddy will come and pick us up." Chapter 348. Sigh. Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh, then said, "Qingya, are we being too impulsive?" Qingya was very confused. "Before I left, I already told Yihua to come and find me, and I will definitely go back, but it has already been so long, and he still hasn't come back. Let's wait a while more. Yihua can't let go of his face." Another 2 hours passed by, and it was already midnight. Donghuang Li was already sleeping in her mother's embrace. Meanwhile, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were still waiting foolishly. "Qingya, you understand Yihua a bit. Why isn't he coming yet?" Donghuang Baiji asked. "When I found out that my subordinate was killed by Yihua's subordinate, I was furious, and Yihua didn't apologize to me at all. Now that I think about it, I am also in the wrong. Who asked me to send the betrothal gift out of anger? If the betrothal gift really arrived, wouldn't I be finished?" That was why Donghuang Baiji felt depressed. If Yihua didn't come and find me, I wouldn't be able to get out of this embarrassing situation. Qingya sighed lightly. "Yihua is really angry this time." Then what should we do?" Donghuang Baiji cried out in surprise. "Based on my understanding of Yihua, he is definitely thinking of a way to let us go back by ourselves." Qingya understood Yihua's personality, and she guessed correctly. Donghuang Baiji pouted her mouth. "I won't go back unless he comes and picks me up. He is also sure that we won't go back by ourselves, and he will definitely think of a way." Qingya laughed bitterly. "We are both your wives. Can't you even coax us?" "Think of what way?" Qingya said. "Do you know why Xiao family suddenly withdrew from the aristocratic family selection?" "Why?" "That was arranged by Yihua." Donghuang Baiji was startled. Why would Yihua interfere in Xiao family's matter? "I also don't know what he is playing at." Qingya let out a breath and stood up. "All right, I just remembered, that morning, Yihua even asked me to approve Tang family selection." Donghuang Baiji suddenly recalled what happened that morning. This made Qingya recall the auction that night. "Was it Yihua who asked you to approve Tang family selection?" "That's right. That morning, Yihua had said it to me. I felt that it was just a small matter, so I went along with what he said." Donghuang Baiji wrinkled her brows, feeling that Yihua was secretly planning something. Not only did the Xiao clan withdraw, but they also arranged for the Tang clan to intervene. The two women were confused. "Qingya, Yihua couldn't be setting up a trap, right?" Donghuang Baiji asked gravely. "However, there has to be a reason for all of this, right? You are the empress, and furthermore, you are his wife, and you are the one who is in charge of the entire north. There is no need for him to do all of this." Qingya was completely clueless about what Yihua was trying to do. Donghuang Baiji guessed, Yihua likes to stay at home, and he doesn't seem to be someone who is obsessed with power. However, why would he interfere in this aristocratic family's election? In the past, that subordinate of Yihua had also interfered with the South's matters, and it was precisely the fight over the ancient godly item. On that day, I was camping with Yihua. Now that I think about it, it seems like Yihua had an ulterior motive. The more Qingya thought about it, the more she felt that it was strange. "Qingya, you are saying that not only did Yihua interfere with the north, he also interfered with the south? Then, are the recent events that happened in the south related to Yihua?" Donghuang Baiji didn't dare to believe it. The more she continued to speculate, the more she felt that Yihua was a mystery. Qingya shook her head. "I don't know." "Then what if it is true?" Donghuang Baiji's hypothesis caused Qingya to be a bit confused. After a long while, Qingya said gravely, "If it was really done by Yihua, I will slowly change him and I will not leave him. What about you? Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. Ali is already so big, and it wasn't easy for me to find my daddy. I will naturally not leave him either. The two women looked at each other and smiled. For them, Yi Hua was even willing to give up his life, and they would naturally not leave him either. Husbands have to be slowly taught. Yi Hua expressed that he wouldn't take the blame. However, Zhu Tian was, after all, Yi Hua's subordinate, and it was impossible for him to not take the blame for those family extermination massacres. Then, how are we going to change Yi Hua's personality? At the very least, we have to get rid of those crooked principles. Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. I reckon that Yi Hua wants to prove those crooked principles, and that's why he will start with those families. What we have to do is to let Yi Hua know that this world isn't like what he thinks it is. Although there are bad people in this world, most of them are still good people. Donghuang Baiji's eyes shone. Qingya, are you saying that the two of us should join hands to deal with Yi Hua? Qingya smiled. Aren't you very excited? A bit. What if we lose? If we lose, we will obediently go home and beg for forgiveness. If we win, Yi Hua will become an obedient baby in the future. Donghuang Baiji smiled sweetly, and immediately became incomparably beautiful. I like to see Yi Hua become an obedient baby. I like it too. The two wives were like-minded, and they were prepared to turn a demon king into an obedient baby. One couldn't help but admire their courage. Furthermore, their thinking was too simple. Qingya, who only knew how to fight in a business war, and the Empress who had never been through any big storms, how could they possibly be Yi Hua's opponent? After all, Yi Hua was someone who had been through hundreds of battles, a man who had rolled around in piles of corpses. This was a contest between husband and wife, and the entire north was the chessboard. Looking at the current situation, Donghuang Baiji had the upper hand. After all, she was the Empress of Voidless Realm, and if Yi Hua wanted to get involved, he would have to start from his family. Donghuang Baiji would be able to obtain the information in time, and then take action. And according to Donghuang Baiji's guess, Yi Hua was preparing to start from Tang family. If Yi Hua were to know of Donghuang Baiji's guess, he would definitely shout out loud at Donghuang Baiji. How could I be so obvious? Even if I were to sit at home and not do anything, I would still be able to teach the two of you a lesson. On this night, Yi Hua was destined to hug his quilt and sleep. If I had known that this would be the case, I would have slept with Donghuang Baiji and let her know how formidable I am. If you two have the ability, don't come back. This time, I will definitely let them see how formidable I am. After that, obediently admit their wrongs and serve me well, and maybe, I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will not let you two have a good time. Zijin City was the center of China, and Zijin University had a very long history. Zijin University was also very famous in the world. Zijin University was a university that all students yearned to attend, and Zijin University attracted a lot of international students. In the morning, the campus was filled with the fragrance of fresh flowers, and the green grass was like a cushion. Everywhere was filled with the fragrance of flowers, and one after another, modern school buildings rose from the ground. Youthful and energetic university students were walking on the tree-shaded path with a happy smile on their faces. This kind of carefree university life would end after they graduate, and at that time, despair would begin. Quick, quick, look over there, beauties! A freshman shouted out while pointing at two girls that were not far away from them. Chapter 349. Why does that girl look so weak? I really want to go and protect her. The freshman sighed. This was the first time he had seen such a girl, and he couldn't help but feel sorry for her. There are many people who want to protect her. You are not the only one. The senior said disdainfully. Not only these two were whispering, but other students were also discussing. This girl had a natural desire to be protected, and they couldn't bear to see her get hurt. This person was Dongfang Yu, and next to her was her best friend, Song Xiaoxiao. Compared to Dongfang Yu, Song Xiaoxiao wasn't so outstanding, but beside a beauty, there would always be green leaves. It wasn't that Song Xiaoxiao wasn't beautiful, but she was inferior. Of course, the relationship between the two was very good, like sisters. Our school hired a super cold professor. Song Xiaoxiao held Dongfang Yu's arm and laughed exaggeratedly, even gesturing with her hands. Dong Fengyu was thinking about things and didn't hear what Song Xiaoxiao said. It's the open class of the Cold Prince Charming. Let's go early and get a seat. I heard that the class of the Cold Prince Charming is full of women. Song Xiaoxiao's face was full of infatuation. These days, she went late and didn't even get a seat. She could only see the elegant demeanor of the Prince Charming on the school forum. So cold, so cool. Dong Fengyu still didn't respond, looking very heavy. What are you thinking about? Song Xiaoxiao shook Dong Fengyu and said. Dong Fengyu came back to her senses and smiled. Oh, nothing. Why did you become stupid after the summer vacation? I'll take you to see handsome men. I heard that looking at handsome men can stimulate brain cells and achieve the goal of longevity. Dong Fengyu said softly, I'm not going, you go. This summer vacation was a nightmare for Dong Fengyu. She was sold by her mother to the Bai family and was even insulted by Bai Qi. Only by returning to this school could she feel a little safer. Listening to Dong Fengyu's tone, Song Xiaoxiao was depressed. She had a loud voice, and Dong Fengyu's voice was very low and soft. Even if they were quarreling, she would use such a tone. But it was this that would arouse the desire of men to protect her. Come with me. I'm afraid I'll look ugly if I go alone, Song Xiaoxiao pleaded. She seemed to be saying that if he didn't come with her, she would cry. Looking at her friend's pleading, Dong Fengyu couldn't bear to refuse. She was such a girl. Even if she was hurt, she didn't want to see others get hurt. Her mother sold her to the Bai family, but she didn't say anything. All right. Dong Fengyu chuckled. That's great. Let's run. Otherwise, we won't be able to get a seat. With that, Song Xiaoxiao pulled Dong Fengyu and ran. Immediately, the boys drooled as they watched. This beautiful lady was really exciting when she ran. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and it made people's hearts skip a beat. Especially that thing that was moving up and down. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. Litli, slow down. Dong Fengyu's face turned red after jogging for a while. Her weak body couldn't keep up. They didn't stop until they reached the classroom door. Fortunately, we ran fast, or else there wouldn't be any seats left. Song Xiaoxiao patted her chest, while Dong Fengyu had a helpless expression. Dong Fengyu was not interested in handsome guys, and only studying could make her forget many things. The spacious classroom's occupancy rate had reached 70%, and there was still half an hour before the class started. Just as the two were about to sit down, a gorgeous girl frowned and shouted, There's someone here. Song Xiaoxiao wasn't like Dong Fengyu. There's no one here. You're clearly taking up a seat. That's right. I'm taking up a seat. What can you do? Dong Fengyu pulled Song Xiaoxiao and said softly, Let's sit at the side. Song Xiaoxiao glared at the girl and sat at the side with Dong Fengyu. The seat just now was in the middle, and the view was very good. Suddenly, the sound of high heels rang out. Everyone couldn't help but look back. It turned out to be the campus belle, Guan Yanxin. This woman had the height of a model. She had fair skin and a hot figure. She wore a tight red dress that seemed to be specially worn. Her arrogance was like that of an empress. Some of the freshmen were whispering. I heard that this Guan Yanxin's background is very deep. I heard it when I first came to school. It said that those who provoked her all dropped out. Lower your voice. Don't let others hear you. If not, you won't have a good ending. Guan Yanxin could be seen sitting at the seat just now, and the beautiful girl beside her seemed to be her attendant. TSK, what are you being arrogant for? Song Xiaoxiao pouted her mouth. Dong Fengyu said softly, All right, don't be angry anymore. Song Xiaoxiao could only sulk. From this angle, she could only see her Adonis's side view. Tens of minutes later, the aloof Adonis finally arrived. Zhu Tian could be seen wearing a pure white suit. His handsome hairstyle matched with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. Adding on the ice-cold aura that was being emitted from his entire body, it caused the students to go crazy. Walking into the classroom, Zhu Tian coldly swept his gaze across the classroom. As expected, all of the students are females. Why didn't I realize that I have such a lure in the past? When the students saw that Zhu Tian had arrived, everyone in the classroom gasped, as if they were about to orgasm. As for Zhu Tian, He didn't feel the slightest bit of emotion as he slowly walked towards the rostrum. Not only did the girls not feel disgusted by his actions, they instead adored him even more. While looking at the group of girls, Zhu Tian didn't want to talk nonsense. After all, he had been very busy recently, and he had to make a series of plans for his honors mission. Do you know what you all came here to learn today? Zhu Tian placed his hands behind his back and asked. This action of his caused the girls to become dumbfounded. Song Xiaoxiao raised both of her fists and said infatuatedly, "So handsome, so handsome." Dongfang Yue remained unmoved. She only wanted to listen to the content of the lecture. Guan Yanxin appeared calm, but her gaze carried a strong sense of dominance, as if she wanted to train this man into a kitten. The fangirls that were present were all stupefied. How could they hear anything else? "You speak." Zhu Tian pointed at Guan Yanxin and said. Guan Yanxin slowly stood up. Her graceful posture showed that she had a good upbringing. "I came to see you, Professor." Guan Yanxin was very daring and directly started flirting with Zhu Tian. The fangirls all had a look of disdain on their faces. "Shameless, you actually dare to seduce our aloof Adonis." Zhu Tian took a look at Guan Yanxin, then indicated for her to sit down. Afterward, he pointed at Dongfang Yue and asked, "What are you doing here?" Even though he was clearly asking Dongfang Yue, Song Xiaoxiao, who was at the side, was extremely excited. Dongfang Yue stood up and said tenderly, "I am here to listen to a lecture." Everyone in the classroom sighed. Even a beauty like Guan Yanxin came here for the professor, yet you said that you are here to listen to a lecture. Are you even a woman? Chapter 350. Zhu Tian nodded. The latter slowly sat down, not feeling that Zhu Tian was handsome at all. "What is hypnosis in your eyes?" Zhu Tian asked indifferently. A girl shouted, "Professor, I'm willing to be hypnotized by you and then do illegal things to me." Qu'est-ce que c'est? This was even more daring. The audience sighed. This shamelessness had reached a certain level. Zhu Tian was not angry and said indifferently, "Hypnosis is a science. For example, you were all hypnotized by me, but you didn't know it." Zhu Tian had learned very quickly these few days. He immediately stirred up the atmosphere and changed the topic of looking at handsome guys to hypnosis. Of course, the fans did not believe it. Zhu Tian looked at Guan Yanxin and said indifferently, "Do you believe it?" "No." Guan Yanxin shook her head. Zhu Tian then looked at Dongfang Yue. What about you?" Dongfang Yue shook her head. "The two of you come on stage." Dongfang Yue and Guan Yanxin were puzzled, but they still stood up and went on stage. It was rare to see two school beauties going on stage at the same time. "Professor, are you trying to hypnotize me?" Guan Yanxin was quite open, while Dongfang Yue was much quieter. Zhu Tian did not look at Guan Yanxin, but looked at the students. "As I said, they have already been hypnotized by me, but they just don't know it." "Professor, don't just say no." "That's right, at least let us two school beauties perform." "How about a girl kiss?" "We'll believe it then." Zhu Tian ignored them and said to Dongfang Yue and Guan Yanxin, "Lift up your hair." The two campus belles flipped up their hair, and their expressions were normal. It couldn't be any more normal. "Professor Zhu, this is too fake." A middle-aged man walked toward the podium. He was also a hypnosis professor, but no one attended his class. Zhu Tian's class was full every day, so he wanted to teach him a lesson. Zhu Tian said indifferently, "Professor Liu, what can I do for you?" "I don't dare to teach, I just don't want to see the students being deceived." Professor Liu said loudly, as if he wanted to expose the fact that Zhu Tian was a liar. Zhu Tian did not care and said indifferently, "How do you want to prove that I am a liar?" "Naturally, by hypnosis." Professor Liu was full of confidence. "Sure." Seeing that Zhu Tian had agreed, Professor Liu looked at the two campus belles. They were really beautiful. This Professor Zhu really knew how to play. He didn't call others campus belles and only called them campus belles. If they were hypnotized, he would be able to touch them a few times. Wouldn't that be great? "They've already been hypnotized by me. You should find them from outside the classroom." Professor Liu was amused by this sentence. This is the reaction after being hypnotized? You should go lie to elementary school students. "Come here." Zhu Tian crooked his finger at the two school beauties. Yihua only had one request, and that was to not let them get hold of any information that could be used against him. Even if they knew that he was playing tricks on them, they wouldn't have any evidence to prove it. Zhu Tian expressed that he understood. At night, a red Ferrari stopped outside of the school. Zhu Tian, who was still wearing a white suit, opened the car door and sat inside. The person who was driving the car was precisely Guan Yanxin. A woman who was in the middle of puberty looked especially alluring. Every inch of her skin was emitting out a fragrance. However, Zhu Tian was not moved at all. If it wasn't for him needing a logical identity, he wouldn't even be bothered to sit here. Professor Zhu, you are so handsome. Guan Yanxin was wearing a V-neck gown. Her deep cleavage was breathtaking. Zhu Tian said faintly, "Let's go. I like men like you." Guan Yanxin teased, then stepped on the accelerator. The engine roared, and the sound of the engine resounded throughout the street. International Hotel was Zijin City's iconic building. It was formed by two buildings alternating, forming a triangular shape. The design concept of the hotel was rather innovative. After arriving at the entrance of the hotel, a manager ran over and shouted, "Miss Guan! Park the car." Guan Yanxin threw the car key into the manager's embrace, and the manager caught the car key hurriedly and almost dropped it onto the ground. Zhu Tian got off the car and rubbed his eyes. This Guan Yanxin doesn't seem to be that simple. Chapter 351. That's right. What does your family do for a living? If it wasn't for the fact that I have to fulfill his honor's order, I really want to kill this woman. Kiss me and I'll tell you. If it were any other man, they would have directly pounced on her. However, Zhu Tian felt that this was an insult to him. However, this woman was still of some use to him, so he put his arm around her slender waist. Tell me. Annoying, there are so many people here. Guan Yanxin did not expect Zhu Tian to suddenly make such a move, and was a little embarrassed. Although Guan Yanxin was strong-minded, she would not go to the extent of messing around. Even now, she did not have a boyfriend. Didn't she fancy Zhu Tian? He took the initiative to attack. However, Absolute Heaven only wanted to make use of him and did not have any other intentions. Now that Zhu Tian knew that he had the upper hand, he caressed her waist with his right hand and said indifferently, "Are you not going to say it?" The numbness coming from his waist made Guan Yan's heart flutter, but he also felt that it was very exciting. There were so many people coming and going. Professor Zhu, do you know about aristocratic families? Zhu Tian was slightly stunned, and his right hand tightened. This time, Zhu Tian was actually hugging Guan Yanxin. This was a sign of excitement. If he could sneak into one of the aristocratic families, wouldn't it be even easier to operate? Although Absolute Heaven's hypnosis technique appeared to be very powerful, it also had its flaws. If Guan Yanxin was hypnotized, her words and actions would be normal in the beginning. However, after a long period of time, her actions would slowly change, and it would be very easy for people close to her to notice. His honor had ordered us not to leave any evidence behind. Absolute Heaven, what are you doing? Guan Yanxin called out sweetly. She did not expect that Absolute Heaven would become so excited upon hearing that she was a member of an aristocratic family. However, this was also good. She could use her family's name to hook up with a handsome professor. Hugging Guan Yanxin's delicate body, Zhu Tian felt like vomiting. He never thought that he would have to use the honey trap. Zhu Tian, are you feeling unwell? Guan Yanxin liked men like Zhu Tian. It was love at first sight. After Absolute Heaven regained his calm, he said, "It's nothing, just a little nauseous." "Then let's go buy some medicine." "No need. Let's go in first." Zhu Tian really wanted to see who would be going up on stage tonight to facilitate his future plans. As for the woman beside him, he would temporarily make use of her. The two of them took the elevator to the top floor. "Miss Guan." The attendant beside the elevator shouted respectfully. As for Guan Yanxin, she didn't seem to care at all. She held on to Zhu Tian's arm happily. Zhu Tian swept his gaze across the crowd and discovered that there were some family heads from Purple Gold City among them. Xiao Yi, Tang Wushuang, the Bai siblings, Wang Debao, Chen Xuanzong, and that female student were all present. These people were all present. Not bad. Tonight's trip was worthwhile. The purpose of the Guan clan's banquet was the same as the Yi clan's. It was nothing more than to canvass for votes. "Miss Guan, Miss Guan. Guan Yanxin held onto Zhu Tian's arm and nodded with a smile. His words and actions had the demeanor of a great master. Zhu Tian was currently considering Guan Yanxin's usefulness. Should he use this identity to enter the Guan family and make it easier for him to take action in the future? Brother, brother. Guan Yanxin called out to a man. Zhu Tian looked over. This man's bearing was extraordinary, and he had an imposing appearance. He was actually her big brother. Yanxin, you're finally here. Father has been looking for you everywhere. Guanli walked over and smiled. Seeing his sister holding a man's hand, he frowned. Guan Yanxin smiled and introduced, Brother, this is Zhu Tian, my boyfriend. When did you have a boyfriend? Guanli's tone was filled with ill intent as he asked gravely. Only you are allowed to have a girlfriend, but I'm not allowed to have a boyfriend? Brother, you can't play like this. Guan Yanxin thought that her brother was joking and teased. Guanli pulled his sister to the side. You clearly know that father is going to announce the marriage between you and Jiang family today, yet you still brought a man here. It's precisely because father is going to announce the marriage that I brought my boyfriend here. Guan Yanxin had an indifferent look on her face. Do you want father's face to fall to the ground? You're too insensible. What does it have to do with me? In any case, I will choose my own man. Guanli was angered to the point that his head hurt. I really don't know what to say. If you are thinking for your boyfriend's sake, then immediately break up with him. If not, he won't be able to see tomorrow's sun. Let's see who dares to touch him. Guan Yanxin wasn't someone to be trifled with. What's wrong? Zhu Tian walked over and asked faintly. Guanli glanced at Absolute Heaven, then said to his little sister, Do as you see fit. After saying that, he left. Absolute Heaven had a bad feeling about this. This was the best opportunity to infiltrate an aristocratic family. He could not let this woman escape for the time being. My father is going to sell me. Guan Yanxin sighed in relief. At this time, the helplessness he felt was similar to Dongfang Yuer. They were both used as bargaining chips. Hearing these words, Absolute Heaven's heart sank. Just a moment ago, he was still thinking of how to make use of her. Yet, in the blink of an eye, it had all turned into bubbles. This caused Absolute Heaven's expression to sink. Seeing Zhu Tian's expression, Guan Yanxin thought that Zhu Tian was unhappy. Are you angry? Guan Yanxin asked curiously. Absolute Heaven frowned as he nodded his head. The plan he had been thinking about for a long time was suddenly ruined. How could he not be angry? Do you dare to make a bet with me? Guan Yanxin asked softly. At the end of the day, Guan Yanxin was also using Zhu Tian to get rid of her family's arranged marriage. She only chose someone she liked. In this aspect it was more or less the same as Qing Ya. Hearing what Guan Yanxin said, Zhu Tian felt that he could only make a bet. It would naturally be good if he could successfully sneak into Guan family, but if he couldn't, it would bring him a lot of trouble. Furthermore, this Jiang family was also an aristocratic family. Messing up this arranged marriage might cause estrangement between the two of them. What is the purpose of your family hosting this banquet? The two leaned against the window. Zhu Tian naturally wanted to get some information out of Guan Yanxin. Guan Yanxin drank a glass of red wine, and with a blush on her face, she said quietly, I will tell you, but you must not tell anyone else. All right. It is for the longevity fruit. Guan Yanxin said secretly. Zhu Tian revealed a puzzled look. Longevity fruit? You don't know, right? In actuality, aristocratic families aren't the most powerful. There is still Voidless Realm above them. Voidless Realm will distribute the longevity fruit once every 100 years, and only the people from aristocratic families know about it. Those aristocratic families don't know about it at all. Don't tell anyone about it, otherwise, it will be troublesome. Guan Yanxin, who was slightly drunk, said in an infatuated manner. She completely didn't know how important this matter was, as it was related to the fate of her entire family. Even Yi Hua didn't know about the longevity fruit, yet this time, Zhu Tian knew about it. This Guan Yanxin sure is a lucky star, to be willing to sell out her teammates like this. Seeing Zhu Tian's surprised look, Guan Yanxin said with a smile, There are a lot of secrets in aristocratic families, and they are all things that cannot be revealed to others. You are drunk. Zhu Tian was a bit excited. It was right to come here today. This woman knows a lot of things. However, I can't act too aggressively right now. If not, it will raise her suspicion. Should I just use hypnosis to get the information out of her? Chapter 352. I'm not drunk. I just want to be drunk. Guan Yanxin's tone seemed to be filled with helplessness. Being born into such an aristocratic family, it was indeed easy to gain power and influence, but at the same time, she had lost her personal freedom, and had to consider the family's reputation with every word and action. She was even stopped from getting a boyfriend. In Guan Yanxin's words, she was already in her 20s, and she didn't even know what it was like to be a woman. She really wanted to find a man she liked, marry him, and then do whatever she wanted. At least for the first time in his life, he had chosen someone he liked. Right now, Zhu Tian was a bit vexed. His body's reaction was telling him not to touch this woman, but the message that was being transmitted in his mind was his honor's order. In the end, his honor's command won over his thoughts. Zhu Tian gently embraced Guan Yanxin, and Guan Yanxin snuggled into Zhu Tian's embrace. No matter what this man's motive was, at least he was someone she liked. Now, Absolute Heaven had encountered another problem. How could he make her listen to him willingly? Moreover, in a situation where he could not see through her motives? This was a little difficult. However, when Zhu Tian saw Dongfang Yu, he curiously asked, "Why is this student here?" Guan Yanxin turned around and said, "Similar to me, a girl who was sold by her family." The person beside her is her husband? Absolute Heaven asked curiously as he looked at Bai Qi. That's not it. I heard that the two of them haven't slept together yet. Although this Dongfang Yu has a soft temper, she's still quite unyielding. I have to say that she has the shadow of the Dongfang family. Guan Yanxin chuckled. The Dongfang family? Absolute Heaven asked. Guan Yanxin nodded her head. That's right, this Dongfang was originally an aristocratic family, but something happened and they were stripped of their title. Dongfang Yu is one of the younger generation of the Dongfang family. His luck today was simply off the charts. First it was the Guan family, now it's the Dongfang family. His honor can give the order to investigate the massacre of Dongfang family, and this Dongfang Yu is the breakthrough point. However, how can I break through this breakthrough point normally? He needed to think about it carefully. After that, Guan Yanxin talked about a lot of family disputes. For example, the Xiao family and the Tang family weren't on good terms. Now that the Tang family had angered the Bai family, Chen Xuanzong had the intention to form an alliance with the Tang family. However, to Absolute Heaven, this was good news. After all, Guan Yanxin knew a lot of things, and he had to use this woman for a long time in order to obtain more information. On the other side of the banquet, Chen Xuanzong could be said to be a dark horse in the Purple Gold City. In just a few days' time, he had obtained the acknowledgement of many family heads. Basically, his figure could be seen in all of the banquets. Chen Xuanzong decided to put his relationship with Qingya aside for now. After he ascended to the peak, he would look for Qingya and tell her that Long Outyen wasn't a good person. Long Outyen, who was far away in the mountains, looked up at the sky and sighed. What the F***ck did I do wrong? Holding on to a glass of red wine, Chen Xuanzong arrived in front of Tang Wushuang, Tang family head. Patriarch Chen. Recently, Tang Wushuang's mood was exceptionally good, and this caused his hormones to be very active. If it wasn't for the beard on his face, the voice that he intentionally suppressed, and the bandage on his chest, Tang Wushuang would have already become a living beauty. Chen Xuanzong had also discovered that Tang Wushuang's voice sounded a bit intentional. Recently, I caught a cold, and my throat is a bit uncomfortable. Tang Wushuang explained with a smile. However, with his current strength, how could he possibly catch a cold so easily? Chen Xuanzong said with a concerned smile. Then Patriarch Tang, remember to rest well. Thank you for your concern, Patriarch Chen. I will naturally take care of myself. Tang Wushuang's expression also began to change a bit, and this caused Chen Xuanzong to have goosebumps all over his body. Patriarch Tang, when are we going to take action? Chen Xuanzong had already paid a visit to Tang Wushuang a few days ago. After that, Chen Xuanzong and Tang Wushuang came to an agreement, and they were going to exterminate the Xiao family together. Tang Wushuang looked at Xiao Yi, who was far away, and said gravely, "After the aristocratic family selection is over, we will prepare to take action. Then I can be at ease." Chen Xuanzong patted on Tang Wushuang's shoulder. The latter went into a slight daze, and a girl-like shyness actually appeared on his forehead. This caused Chen Xuanzong to immediately stop. What's going on with this Tang Wushuang? Xiao Yi naturally discovered Tang Wushuang and Chen Xuanzong as well. The two of them having their arms around each other's shoulders definitely isn't a good thing. Looking at Bai Cixin, who was not far away, Xiao Yi revealed a kind smile and walked towards her. Patriarch Bai. Bai Cixin turned around slowly. Patriarch Xiao, it's been a long time. Patriarch Bai is still so beautiful. I'm so infatuated with you. Wang Debao, who was at the side, had a black face. You dare to flirt with my wife in front of me? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the Shenyuan sword. I can finish sucking a plate of snails without using my hands, but can you do it too? Bai Cixin smiled lightly and said, My husband is still beside me. Patriarch Xiao, please be careful with your words. Wang Debao snorted coldly and lightly hugged his wife. He seemed to be saying, You loser, hurry up and get lost. Director Wang, don't misunderstand. I came here today to form an alliance. Xiao Yi revealed his purpose. Right now, forming an alliance was the only way out, and it was also the best way. Bai Cixin said indifferently, Why should I agree with you? Because we have the same enemy, Tang family. Xiao Yi said coldly. A strange smile appeared on Bai Cixin's face as she said, Indeed. When Wang Debao heard that Xiao Yi didn't come to seduce his wife, but to form an alliance, he felt much more at ease. Furthermore, I, Wang Debao, have great martial arts, and my wife is already unable to free herself. Both Xiao and Bai family had ancient godly items. If they were to fight, they would have a huge advantage. In the Tangchen alliance, only Tang family had ancient godly items. Chen Xuanzong didn't, so they would be at a disadvantage. But don't forget about Tang Wushuang's teacher, Gui Chenren. This was equivalent to having a walking ancient godly item. At this moment, a round middle-aged man appeared at the scene. This was the patriarch of Guan family, Guan Tong. This person's height was less than 1.7 meters, but his body was very fat. Looking from afar, he looked like a walking rubber ball. But don't be blinded by his fat body. After all, he was the patriarch of one of the 5 great families. If he didn't have some skills, how could he sit in this position? Patriarch Guan. Patriarch Guan. Patriarch Guan. All the patriarchs greeted him passionately. Guan Tong was very happy too. But when he saw his daughter was actually nestling in a man's embrace, his fat face immediately darkened. If Jiang family's people saw this scene, what marriage was there to talk about? My father is here. Guan Yanxin immediately left Zhu Tian's embrace. It seemed like she was still a little afraid of her father. Zhu Tian asked softly, Do you still dare to gamble? Chapter 353. I dare. Zhu Tian nodded his head. You go first. Zhu Tian did not explain and directly blended into the crowd, causing Guan Yanxin to be dumbfounded. Yanxin, who was that man just now? Guan Tong walked over and questioned. Guan Yanxin said in a deep voice, My boyfriend. Do you know what day it is today? Do you have to choose this day to anger father? Guan Tong bellowed in anger. His daughter's actions were smearing the family's name. I have to decide my own marriage. Guan Yanxin was very firm. She was better than Dong Fengyue in this aspect. She would resist. However, this kind of resistance was useless. You still want to decide your own marriage? Where did your boyfriend go? Does he have the guts to stand out? Guan Yanxin looked around and realized that Zhu Tian had disappeared. Did he run away in fear? He even asked me if I dared to do it, but he actually dared to run away. So timid. I originally thought that he was a man, but I didn't expect him to be acting. Look, your boyfriend is only a... He ran away the moment father came. It can be seen how despicable he is. Guan Tong naturally did not want his daughter to follow an ordinary person or an ordinary family. So a marriage with the Zhang family was the most important thing. Guan Yanxin sighed deeply. She had misjudged. She really regretted saying those words just now. All right, don't be sad. Jiang Zuo is also a good boy. You will know after you interact with him. Guan Yanxin was silent. She seemed to have given up. Guan Tong patted his daughter's shoulder. Yan Xin, father knows your thoughts, but being born in the Guan family, there are many things that can't be helped. Father was the same back then. Father, I understand. Guan Yanxin said dejectedly. Her gaze was still searching the crowd, but she really did not see Zhu Tian. At this moment, Zhu Tian was contacting Wei Chong through the safe passage. Because there were some things that Zhu Tian did not know how to do, such as making a woman willingly help him. Zhu Tian, I have also thought about this question for a long time. Wei Chang's tone was filled with helplessness. Recently, Xiao Tang had returned to school and stayed in the dormitory at night. He had not seen her for a few days. This made Wei Chong very uneasy. This Xiao Tang could not be angry, right? Lil Tang was indeed very angry. I've already shared the same bed with you, but you haven't had any reaction all day. Is it because I'm not pretty enough? Obviously not, but Uncle Wei just didn't touch her. She was sad, thinking that Uncle Wei didn't like her at all. Zhu Tian asked curiously, then what conclusion did you come to? I can tell. Women like to fool around and do some inexplicable things. When Wei Chong thought of the things that Tang Wei did every day, he became puzzled. Tang Wei was hinting at you crazily, yet you didn't react at all. Don't tell me you want a girl to directly expose you. Zhu Tian said faintly, today, I met two crucial women. However, I don't know how to make them die for me. I am unable to help you with this problem. Lai Gu seems to know a lot more. After all, only Lai Gu is able to maintain his relationship very well. Wei Chong thought about it and agreed with what his honor said. His honor's relationship problems are happening every single day, and I also have conflicts with Tang Bingyao. That little Green and Zi Shan still haven't slept together on the same bed, and only Lai Gu and his 3 wives are the most harmonious with each other. And of course, there is also Death Mage and Sun Fang. These 2 couples were simply role models. All right. Zhu Tian cut off his connection with Wei Chong and immediately contacted Lai Gu. Right now, Lai Gu was doing his best to fulfill his duties. He was still lying on the bed with a satisfied look on his face along with Bai Xiaozhen, while Lai Gu was currently satisfying Wen Xia who was below him. Lai Gu, can I ask you something? Zhu Tian asked. Lai Gu said while gasping for breath. What is it? How do you make a woman do things for you willingly? Lai Gu said gravely. Is there even a need to think about it? Just do it with all your might. What for? Zhu Tian had a puzzled look on his face. What are you talking about? What else can I do? If you want a woman to be obedient, you have to make her obedient. This was Lai Gu's theory, and also the conclusion he came up with. Look at my 3 wives. I will do whatever I say. If they don't listen to me, I will do it until they listen to me. This has been tried and tested. In actuality, this set of dominoes theory was something that Yi Hua could imitate and directly make them lie on the ground. Why would I have the energy to blame you? Zhu Tian tightly wrinkled his brows. Will this work? You can just listen to me, but his honor just doesn't listen to me. Your 2 wives are still causing all sorts of trouble. These words are rather reasonable. Zhu Tian said, let me think about it then. All right, you think about it yourself, I am still busy right now. After ending the call, Lai Gu seemed to have turned into a small electric motor, and the frequency of his massage increased, causing Wen Xia to moan endlessly. My massage technique is getting better and better. In the entire team, Lai Gu was the happiest. Of course, there were also Lai Gu's wives, who were enjoying their husband's treatment. Zhu Tian leaned on the staircase's handrail and let out a deep breath. Do I really have to sacrifice my body? I feel like I have suffered a loss. However, for his honor's command, even if I have to sacrifice my body, I will not hesitate. Just that, how am I supposed to do it? Zhu Tian had no choice but to seek help from Baidu. Drugging, forcing alcohol, picking up corpses, and all sorts of strange methods. This caused Zhu Tian to shake his head. These methods are too despicable. I, Zhu Tian, disdain to use these despicable methods. Bang! The staircase's door could be seen being fiercely pushed open, and a man could be seen grabbing onto a woman's arm and pushing her against the wall. Zhu Tian took a look. It was actually his student, Dongfang Yu, and that person from Bai family. This is a bit interesting. Dongfang Yu, What is the meaning of this? Are you not giving me any face at all? Bai Qi's hand slammed onto the wall fiercely, causing Dong Fengyuer's ears to go numb. I am asking you a question. Seeing that Dong Fengyue remained silent, Bai Qi became furious. You don't allow me to touch you, but I am going to touch you today. After finished speaking, Bai Qi prepared to kiss Dong Fengyue. Dong Fengyue turned pale with fright as she used both of her hands to block. You said that you won't touch me. I am going to *CK you today. No one will be able to stop me. Dong Fengyuer's face became extremely pale and powerless. However, looking at Bai Qi's malevolent face, Dong Fengyue didn't know where she got the strength to kick Bai Qi's crotch. Bai Qi was immediately stupefied. He raised his hand and gave Dong Fengyue a slap, then held onto his crotch. Slut! I am going to beat you to death today. Dong Fengyue directly fell onto the ground from the slap, but she didn't cry. She just felt that not being violated was better than anything else. Being beaten to death like this is also a form of release. Bai Qi relaxed and felt much better. Just as he was about to teach the woman on the ground a lesson, a voice rang out. Zhu Tian had been watching from the side for a long time. He felt that this was a good opportunity, a heaven-sent opportunity. He mustn't miss it. She is my student. If you dare touch her, I dare you. Zhu Tian slowly walked over, his tone ice-cold. In order to obtain Dong Fengyuer's trust, Zhu Tian was willing to kill this Bai Qi. After all, this Bai Qi wouldn't be of much use in this matter, but as a corpse, he would be of some use. Bai Qi's face darkened as he looked at Zhu Tian. Who are you? Chapter 354. If not for the fact that Zhu Tian doesn't like women, Zhu Tian would definitely be an expert at picking up girls. Appearing at the most helpless time of a girl, his timing was very accurate. Furthermore, hugging and comforting the other party like this, the other party was even more touched. Just like Dong Fengyue, other than the senior sister that day, Dong Fengyue was the second person that spoke up for me. No one else dared to offend the Bai family. You are my girlfriend's teacher, Bai Qi said confusedly. Zhu Tian lightly caressed Dong Fengyue's beautiful hair, but in his heart, he wanted to directly kill her. Women. I hate women. However, for the sake of his honor's mission, Zhu Tian endured the impulse in his heart. Not only am I her teacher, I am also her man. This time, Bai Qi was startled. Even Dong Fengyue was startled. I know that Professor Zhu is helping me, but he is someone from Bai family. Professor Zhu, don't say any more. What Dong Fengyue meant was for Zhu Tian to not help her anymore, otherwise, he would bring trouble upon himself. However, in Bai Qi's ears, it didn't sound like this at all. This Dong Fengyue doesn't want me to say any more. So she already has a man, no wonder she doesn't want me to touch her. She is definitely afraid that I would find out that it wasn't her first time. I, the dignified young master of Bai family, was actually cuckolded. This is a humiliation. Today, I am going to kill the two of you. Bai Qi relied on his big sister's power and did quite a lot of bad things. Adding on that no one dared to provoke him, this increased his arrogance even more. Especially during this period of time, his big sister is simply going to become the family head. As for me, I am also a young master of an aristocratic family. I don't put anyone in my eyes, let alone a person from a small family. Of course, Bai Qi still had some foundation, but he was only slightly stronger than ordinary people. Zhu Tian raised his hand and directly slapped Bai Qi onto the wall. Bai Qi held onto his cheek and looked at Zhu Tian in disbelief. You dare to slap me? Do you know who my big sister is? Do you know who I am? I only need to move a finger and you too will die. Bai Qi's handsome face was especially terrifying. His family's power had grown so much that he had almost forgotten his surname. Dong Fengyue left Zhu Tian's embrace and bowed to Zhu Tian. Professor Zhu, thank you for helping me, but please don't bother about this anymore, otherwise, you will be in danger. What a good girl. She would rather put herself in danger than drag others down. However, Zhu Tian did not feel anything at all. In his mind, there was only his honor's command and the completion of his honor's command. Get out. Absolute Heaven said gravely. Bai Qi was startled. He didn't see anything unusual. Let's go, but don't let me see you. Otherwise, I will beat you to death. After saying that, Bai Qi walked out. Just as Absolute Heaven had thought, the white flag would only be useful if it was turned into a corpse. As for Dongfang Yuer, this woman was still very useful. Are you all right? Absolute Heaven asked, concerned. Dongfang Yuer shook her head. Professor Ju, it's better for you to quickly leave otherwise. Dongfeng Yuer's beautiful eyes widened as she stared in disbelief at this overbearing and cold man in front of her. He actually forcefully kissed her. Shouldn't I push him away? Why did his hands seem to have no strength? Ju Tian almost vomited, but he endured it and kissed her. Dongfeng Yuer was related to the destruction of the Dongfeng family, and Guan Yanxin had a lot of news about the aristocratic families. These two girls must be won over. If it really doesn't work, then I'll learn from Lai Gu and directly do it. Although it was a bit disgusting, I will just treat it as being bitten by a little puppy. One must know that Ju Tian's original form was a cat, and he was very misophobic, to the point that he didn't even want to touch women. After separating his lips, Ju Tian looked at Dongfeng Yuer and said, "Don't worry, in the future, no one will bully you, other than me." Professor Ju, we can't do this. Thank you for your good intentions. Dongfeng Yuer's face was completely red. What Ju Tian brought her was a strong sense of security, and in this kind of dangerous situation, her heart felt warm. However, Ju Tian wouldn't let Dongfeng Yuer go. He pulled her back and pressed her against the wall. Dongfeng Yuer didn't dare to look straight at Ju Tian's gaze and lowered her head. Do you still want to let him bully you? Ju Tian asked coldly. This is my life. Dongfeng Yuer said in a low voice. Ju Tian lifted up Dongfeng Yuer's chin and said faintly, "Right now, you have the chance to change your life." Professor Ju, I don't want you to be implicated. It must be said that Dongfeng Yuer had a good impression of Ju Tian, otherwise, she wouldn't have let Ju Tian snatch away her first kiss. Of course, this was also Absolute Heaven's first kiss. However, it made Absolute Heaven feel nauseous. I like you. When Absolute Heaven said such words, he wished that he could give himself a slap. This was too King disgusting. However, for the sake of his honor's command, they had no choice but to endure it. After all, after the mission was completed, they would no longer be needed anymore. Dongfeng Yuer was stupefied. She looked at Ju Tian, who was in front of her, in a daze. Song Xiaoxiao was right. He was really handsome and gave her a sense of security. If she wasn't herself, she would definitely be his girlfriend. Professor Ju, please behave yourself. After saying that, Dongfeng Yuer trotted out with tears in her eyes. Ju Tian was stupefied. There was actually a woman who could escape the might of his looks. Even that Guan Yanxin was mesmerized by her, but this Dongfeng Yuer was actually unmoved. Interesting. But I like high difficulty. Tonight Bai Qi had to die, and he had to die fair and square. Absolute Heaven took out a handkerchief and wiped his hands. He then walked out of the stairwell. At this moment, the banquet was reaching its climax. On the stage was the head of the Guan family, Guan Tong. He was giving his speech. Meanwhile, the people from Jiang family had arrived as well. The handsome little brother who was sitting beside Jiang Yuanzhou was Jiang Yuanzhou's youngest son, Jiang Jianhua. Jiang Jianhua looked a bit strange. He seemed a bit slow-witted. This didn't mean that he was sick, rather, Jiang Jianhua was afraid of strangers. It was very difficult for him to go out all year round, and now that he had reached the marriageable age, he found Guan family's youngest daughter. The two families could be said to be well-matched in terms of social status, and no one was trying to curry favor with the other. In the future, if there was anything that happened, everyone could discuss it together. Guan Tong, who was on the stage, was finally going to get down to business. Actually, there is another joyous event today, and that is the marriage between my Guan family and Jiang family. Let's welcome the two newlyweds. Guan Tong took the lead and applauded. The beautiful Guan Yanxin was dignified and attractive. As the daughter of an aristocratic family, Guan Yanxin could be counted as a rather outstanding woman. On the other hand, Jiang Jianhua had his back arched. His expression was slightly nervous, and his gaze was erratic. It seemed like he didn't like this kind of occasion. This Jiang Jianhua is not worthy of her. Guan Yanxin had already given up long ago. This is fate. To marry a cowardly man. Chapter 355. Jiang Yuanzhou stood up, stroked his collar, and slowly walked onto the stage with a dignified air. Just the way he walked up to the stage won him the applause of the patriarchs. Alright, it was just flattery. Jiang Yuanzhou waved his hand, signaling everyone to be quiet. He then patted his son's shoulder. The latter immediately shrank back as if he was about to be beaten. Jiang Yuanzhou saw his son's performance and glared fiercely at him. Don't make a fool of yourself in front of so many people. However, Jiang Jianhua was even more afraid. Maybe it was because he was beaten by his father when he was young. Now, when his father stared at him, he immediately became terrified. Straighten your back. Jiang Yuanzhou slapped his son's waist. He was so shocked that he immediately stood up straight, as if he was about to receive some sort of commendation. His chin was lifted slightly. If Jiang Jianhua had a little more confidence, he would also be a talent. Unfortunately, he had been traumatized by his father when he was young and had no confidence at all. It's my son's fortune to have such a good wife like Yan Xian. It's also a joyous occasion for the Jiang family. Of course, Guantong had to be polite as well. The fat on his face began to tremble. Brother Jiang is too polite. It is Yan Xian's fortune to be able to marry into the Jiang clan. Besides, Jianhua is a talented man with an imposing appearance. He is rare in this world. The compliments from the heads of the two aristocratic families really gave people goosebumps. Guan Yanxin, who was like a block of wood, looked as if she had lost her soul. Actually, everyone knew that this was because they had no choice but to join together for the sake of benefits. Say something. Jiang Yuanzhou said to his son in a low voice. After all, today was considered a public relationship, followed by an engagement and then a marriage. As a man, of course, he had to express a few words. Jiang Jianhua looked at the large group of people in front of him and revealed a timid expression, unable to spit out a single word. No one knew who took the lead to applaud, but everyone began to encourage Jiang Jianhua, as if they were kindergartners who needed encouragement from adults before they would speak. This caused Jiang Yuanzhou's expression to turn ugly. However, this move was indeed useful. I like her very much. Jiang Jianhua said while stuttering, expressing his feelings very well. Although it was difficult, he still said it. Jiang Yuanzhou was relieved. Guantong also felt relieved. It was a good thing for his daughter to marry him. After all, with his daughter's intelligence, at least she wouldn't be bullied. The audience applauded again. Yanxin, come and say something, Guantong said to her daughter. Guan Yanxin came back to her senses and asked curiously, what are you guys talking about? The corner of Guantong's mouth twitched. Jiang Yuanzhou's face immediately darkened. Dongfang Yu, who was in the crowd, saw Zhu Tian kissing Guan Yanxin and slowly turned her head. At this moment, Guan Yanxin was completely intoxicated. She had completely forgotten where she was. Her first kiss was actually given in this kind of situation. Her little butt was already hurting from being grabbed by her teacher. How exciting! After a long kiss, Guan Yanxin nestled in Zhu Tian's embrace with a tender and beautiful blush. That look was as if she wouldn't marry anyone else. As for Zhu Tian, he almost vomited again. Later on, he really had to buy some anti-vomiting medicine. It would still be useful in the future. Father, look at her. She was kissed by another man. I don't like it anymore. Jiang Jianhua was rather straightforward. Seeing his goddess being kissed, he was very jealous and didn't want her anymore. Jiang Yuanzhou looked towards Guantong with a sunken face. Guantong, you have to give me a good explanation for this matter. After speaking, he prepared to leave with his son. Guantong hurriedly shouted, Brother Jiang, my daughter was muddled for a moment. Father, I am not muddled. Guan Yanxin said with a tender smile. She very domineeringly kissed Zhu Tian's lips. She felt that Zhu Tian's lips had a good texture and even carried a fragrance. Guantong's mouth was almost crooked from anger. Seeing this, Jiang Yuanzhou coldly snorted, Guantong, this is the good daughter you taught. Making fun of my Jiang family. Brother Jiang, what do you mean by that? Guantong did not do it on purpose. In actuality, Guantong was already lowering his status and begging Jiang Yuanzhou. However, in the end, Guantong was still a family head of an aristocratic family. In front of everyone, Zhu Tian was kissing Guan Yanxin, who was in his embrace with all his might, and his hands were even roaming around Guan Yanxin's lower abdomen. So painful to the eyes. If there is really no one around, are the two of you going to fight for real? Look at her. Did I say anything wrong? Jiang Yuanzhou pointed at Guan Yanxin, who was kissing passionately, and shouted out. In actuality, Guan Tong was very angry as well. My daughter is actually hugging and kissing a man in front of so many people. My face is about to be completely thrown away. Just as the two family heads were arguing with each other, a commotion suddenly came out from the crowd. You are a profligate son. This was Tang Wushuang's voice. I am not a profligate son. You are talking nonsense. Bai Qi had a wronged look on his face, as if he had received a huge blow. Right after he finished speaking, he immediately ran towards the balcony and leaped into the balcony under the gaze of everyone. The entire place was deathly silent, until a muffled sound rang out. Bai Qi! Chapter 356. Everything happened too quickly. It was so fast that no one expected someone to jump off the building. The person who jumped off the building was the young master of the Bai family, Bai Qi. Guan Yanxin was still unaware of what was going on. Her beautiful eyes were currently closed as she enjoyed Zhu Tian's kiss. Meanwhile, the corner of Zhu Tian's mouth was curled into a strange smile. During the Guan family's banquet, the Bai family's young master committed suicide by jumping off a building. The reason was that he was insulted by Tang family's Tang Wushuang. Originally, the two families were in the limelight, competitors of aristocratic families. Now that Bai Qi had been humiliated by Tang Wushuang to the point of committing suicide by jumping off a building, as the elder sister, it was impossible for Bai Cixin to let the Tang family off just like that. Right now, Tang Wushuang was also very stupefied. Just now, he had accidentally bumped into this little brat's head, and this fellow, relying on his status, actually dared to speak rudely to him. Originally, Tang Wushuang didn't want to fuss about it, but who knew that he would scold him a little more? Damn it, he actually jumped off the building. Is your heart made of tofu? With such a thing happening, the two clan heads naturally couldn't leave. They had to uphold justice. Bai Qi's corpse was quickly carried up. Although it was covered by a white cloth, the blood had already dyed the white cloth red. Jumping from such a high place, his death must have been very miserable. In the end, he was just a hedonistic son of a rich family. He didn't even know how to fly. Bai Cixin stared at her younger brother's corpse. It was only then that she did not realize that humans and ghosts were completely different. After his parents passed away, they told him to take good care of his younger brother. He didn't expect that he would break his promise. Bai Cixin didn't cry, but her pair of beautiful eyes were red and ice-cold as she stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Looking at his brother-in-law committing suicide, Wang Debao was worried for his wife. Zhu Tian hugged Guan Yanxin and stood at the side, watching. Guan Yanxin asked, Zhu Tian, why don't you think this child can understand? Youngsters are all impulsive. They can't stand being humiliated, so they act recklessly. Absolute Heaven said calmly. His words caused everyone to nod their heads. However, Bai Cixin did not agree. She stretched out her slender hand, and the 9 demons' punishing tower appeared in her hand. It emitted a ghostly mist, and the temperature of the scene dropped instantly. 9 demons' punishing tower. That's the legendary 9 demons' punishing tower. Heavens, this 9 demons' punishing pagoda is really amazing. Guan Tong shouted in a deep voice. Bai Cixin, what are you doing? Patriarch Guan, what do you think I'm going to do? I want to avenge my brother. Bai Cixin shouted coldly. Jiang Yuanzhou said indifferently, By family head, this is your younger brother's suicide, and no one harmed him. Tang Wushuang was just too extreme with his words. Furthermore, your two families are currently in the midst of the election, and Voidless Realm forbids your two families from fighting each other. If not, you will lose the right to participate in the election. Jiang Yuanzhou reminded Bai Cixin that if she fought now, she might lose the chance to run for the position of an aristocratic family. Tang Wushuang didn't have any intention of apologizing at all. In fact, he even wanted to infuriate Bai Cixin into making a move on him. This way, he would be able to sit on the position of the aristocratic family head. By family head, your younger brother's mental quality is extremely poor. I, Tang, had only helped you to discipline him for a while, and now, he's unable to think straight. My condolences. Tang Wushuang's words almost caused Bai Cixin to go berserk. Fortunately, Wang Debao stopped her and reminded her in a deep voice. Honey, calm down. If you make a move now, Bai Qi will have died for nothing. Bai Cixin stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Bai Cixin was also well aware of the consequences of him making a move on Tang Wushuang. Of course, he had to take revenge for Tang Wushuang, but not here. Don't tell me that Tang Wushuang isn't responsible for my younger brother's death. Bai Cixin questioned. Guan Tong and Jiang Yuanzhou glanced at each other. Actually, the death of a person wasn't a big deal, but the death was indeed from an aristocratic family, which was more troublesome. Although Tang Wushuang didn't do anything, he still insulted Bai Qi, and this caused Bai Qi to commit suicide by jumping off the building. If one were to say that Tang Wushuang wasn't at fault, it wouldn't make sense. Guan Tong said in a deep voice, Bai Cixin, I deeply sympathize with what happened to you, but the dead can't come back to life. My condolences. The meaning of these words was a little biased. Bai Ci had completely tricked him. This was bullying. Wang Debao was unconvinced and said angrily, this Tang Wushuang clearly knows that the two families are in the midst of the election, and yet, he still insulted the two families, causing my brother-in-law's younger brother to commit suicide by jumping off a building. This is already considered as harming the two families, and Voidless Realm has given strict orders to the two families to not have any casualties. Right now, my brother-in-law's younger brother died in vain. Are we just going to let it go like this? Tang Wushuang explained. Wang Debao, you're twisting words and forcing logic. I told him to jump off a building? Was I wrong to call him a playboy? Ask everyone. Is this Bai Qi a playboy or not? Little girl, I saw that you were bullied by Bai Qi for a very long time tonight. Do you think that a man like him is a playboy or not? Tang Wushuang asked Dongfang Yuan. In actuality, everyone had eyes, and this Bai Qi was indeed this kind of person, and he treated this little girl extremely badly. How would Dongfang Yuan dare to comment on this matter? Upon seeing that, Tang Wushuang said, Look, the little girl is scared to the point that she doesn't dare to speak. That's why, what's wrong with me saying that he is a playboy? Did he break the law? Tang Wushuang's explanation seemed to be a bit reasonable. Both sides had their own opinions, and it was hard for the two family heads to make a judgment as well. After all, they were both participating in the election. Guan Tong said faintly, How about this? I will report this matter to the higher-ups and let Voidless Realm judge this matter. What do the two of you think? Bai Cixin and Tang Wushuang didn't have any objections. Zhu Tian pondered silently. In the end, this matter has reached the ears of the two madams. Right now, let's see how the two madams are going to judge this matter. According to the madam's personality, they will definitely judge this matter as innocent, and Bai Cixin will definitely not accept it. Then, what I have to do next is to think of a way to make the two madams give the wrong verdict. At this moment, all kinds of good ideas appeared in Zhu Tian's mind, and I will definitely make things difficult for the two madams. Bai Cixin kept her ancient godly item. In her eyes, it was Tang Wushuang who killed her little brother, and she will definitely take revenge for this. The banquet finally ended. Although it wasn't as great as Yi family's banquet, it was still an eye-opener. This bespectacled man will definitely become famous, and the prerequisite is that he will be able to live past tonight. Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan who was all alone and walked forward. Meanwhile, Guan Yanxin followed closely behind him. Right now, Guan Yanxin was very obedient. However, Guan Yanxin wasn't disgusted by Zhu Tian's behavior. Born in this family, if a man doesn't have a few wives, he will seem very low and weak. In any case, it's fine as long as I'm the first wife. Student Dongfang. Zhu Tian shouted. Dongfang Yuan turned her head around and took a look, then immediately turned her head around and walked forward. This caused Zhu Tian to doubt his own appearance. In actuality, Dongfang Yuan didn't like to see Zhu Tian and Guan Yanxin together, and thus, she didn't want to pay attention to them. However, Zhu Tian didn't want to let Dongfang Yuan off. He pulled Dongfang Yuan over and asked, Are you all right? Professor Zhu, let go of me. Dongfang Yuan said sternly. However, that soft voice of hers didn't have a bit of persuasiveness at all, and there was even a hint of coquettishness to it. Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan and said, In actuality, this is also pretty good, don't you think so? Chapter 357. Extending his hand to hold Dongfang Yuer's ice-cold little hand, Zhu Tian faintly said, Dongfang Yuer, teacher knows that your heart is not feeling well, but as a psychology and hypnosis professor, I will help you. Guan Yanxin, who was at the side, rolled her eyes. Only an innocent lady like Dongfang Yuer would believe your nonsense. Of course, there was also him. He was really excited tonight. Dongfang Yuan didn't speak because she was in a very strange mood, excited and painful at the same time. The three of them sat in the Ferrari and left. Of course, Zhu Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuan. She was petite in the first place, so when he carried her, she felt even more soft. Of course, absolute heaven wouldn't be courteous. He gently caressed her. Don't move around recklessly. This is a psychological counseling technique. What a despicable method of swindling people. Even Yihua disdained to do such a thing. If she said that she didn't like Zhu Tian, Dongfang Yuer would definitely not let him touch her. The incident that had just happened at the staircase was still vivid in her mind. Professor Zhu was a good person. He had saved her and protected her. Such a favor must be repaid. After all, the professor was the second person in the world who had helped him. As far as he could remember, his parents had never been together. His mother rarely came home. Sometimes, she would come home once a month, sometimes once a year. Even his father had lost his memory. This time, his mother had sold herself out. Towards Absolute Heaven's assistance, Dongfang Yuan was sincerely grateful. Hence, no matter what Absolute Heaven did, Dongfang Yuan would not resist. Hey, are you guys okay? Guan Yanxin was jealous. After all, she was the main wife. She had to be fair. Zhu Tian slowly lifted Guan Yanxin's chin. It'll be your turn soon. After arriving at Absolute Heaven's dormitory, Absolute Heaven had no intention of letting them off tonight. Just like what Lai Gu had said, only by letting them feel comfortable would I be able to obtain more information. For the sake of information. Absolute Heaven, throw caution to the wind. For Absolute Heaven, a small room with one bedroom and one living room was more than enough. Opening the fridge, Absolute Heaven took out a strange bottle of wine. This was not wine, but wing saliva. This wasn't a very powerful divine beast, it couldn't even reach the level of a spiritual beast, but it was extremely rare, because the saliva that dripped out had a mysterious fragrance. Absolute Heaven had once offered this kind of wing saliva to Yihua, but Yihua didn't think much of it. Just like how cats loved the smell of blood, Absolute Heaven was also a cat. However, the concentration of the wing saliva was close to that of alcohol. It was even very high, but it did not have the smell of alcohol. Professor, could it be that he drugged it? Guan Yanxin said sweetly, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Even if it was drugged, he would still drink it. Dongfang Yuer's beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Anyway, she had to repay this debt of gratitude. Fortunately, it was tonight. Without waiting for Guan Yanxin to drink, Dongfang Yuan raised her head and drank. The taste is not bad. It tastes like Li Haha's calcium milk. Sour and sweet. Why are you even more impatient than me? Guan Yanxin also drank it. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't faint or get drunk. Zhu Tian poured another cup for the two of them. If you have any troubles, just tell teacher. Teacher will be your strong support. This wing saliva could even destroy the weakest part of a person's heart, causing them to develop trust. For example, when Absolute Heaven used his strong backing to break through Dongfang Yuer's defenses, it caused her to cry. Don't keep it in your heart. Zhu Tian patted Dongfang Yuer's back and consoled her. To Dongfang Yuer, she had too many burdens on her shoulders. Her mother was not at home, and she could only follow her grandmother. But her grandmother told her many things, and before she died, she even told her, the Dongfang family was wrongly accused, and you must clear Dongfang family's name. Professor, my Dongfang family was wrongly accused. Dongfang Yuer could not hold it in anymore and shouted. Zhu Tian's lips curled up. As expected. Then who is the one who wrongly accused the Dongfang family? Zhu Tian continued to ask. The current 5 great families. Dongfang Yuer choked with sobs. She was so weak, and how could she win against those people? Zhu Tian was very excited to get this information. 100 years ago, the 5 great families wrongly accused Dongfang family, causing all the males in the family to be killed. If this matter was exposed, it would be a huge blow to Dongfang family's wife.
Yanxin, don't you have anything to say?
Zhu Tian asked curiously. Guan Yanxin smiled. I have seen too many of the scandals of the aristocratic families. I don't want to say anything, and I don't want to get involved. Indeed, you don't need to get involved, you just need to say it to yourself. Don't worry, teacher will help you. Zhu Tian said softly. His words were filled with incomparable confidence, causing Dongfang Yu to believe him. Guan Yanxin also raised her hand and smiled. I will help you too. Zhu Tian was very puzzled. Guan Yanxin smiled and explained, ever since father took over my grandfather's position, he changed. I don't want father to continue changing. If possible, I wish to live in a small family. Zhu Tian nodded his head. This kind of exchange is not excessive. Take it as your reward for helping me. Don't worry, I will help you realize your wishes. The 2 girls smiled faintly, but their smiles were filled with bitterness. Gradually, Dongfang Yu and Guan Yanxin laid on the table, drunk. Zhu Tian was a little irritated. He had chosen a despicable method to make them drunk. However, when he thought about what was going to happen, he felt as if something was stuck in his chest, causing him to want to vomit. Without a choice, Zhu Tian carried the 2 beauties onto the bed and took off their clothes. Looking at the flawless bodies in front of him, Zhu Tian didn't feel any temptation, and he only felt that the urge to vomit had lessened by quite a bit. Lai Gu, if your method doesn't work, I will report it to his honor and have his honor beat you up. Lai Gu expressed that it depended on the person, and if I lose, don't blame me for being weak. Zhu Tian turned over and pressed onto Dongfang Yuer's body, then silently closed his eyes. Just treat it as if I was bitten by a little puppy. Gritting his teeth, Zhu Tian deeply merged into Dongfang Yuer's body. In less than 2 minutes, Dongfang Yu couldn't hold on anymore. Zhu Tian could only change his target, and Guan Yanxin couldn't hold on for more than 5 minutes. Zhu Tian felt that he should be done serving the 2 girls, and it's time to call it a day. So disgusting. They are all stained with some unknown liquid. Early in the morning, the magpies played a joyous symphony, seemingly celebrating the 2 girls becoming women. Although the experience was only a few short minutes, at the very least, the 2 girls had successfully transformed. After Zhu Tian finished serving the 2 girls last night, he slept on the sofa, because he was afraid of vomiting. At this moment, the 2 girls woke up faintly, and they immediately felt a certain part of their body aching. When they opened up the blanket to take a look, what an obvious bloodstain, and furthermore there are 2 of them. Guan Yanxin and Dongfang Yu didn't become excited, it was as if they already knew what would happen. However, when they saw that Zhu Tian actually slept on the sofa and didn't sleep on the bed with them, they felt a bit strange in their hearts. Chapter 358. Absolute Heaven was very depressed. It was clearly you guys who were shouting that you couldn't do it anymore, yet now, you are still thinking of doing it yourself. How could this be? Professor Zhu, Teacher Zhu, come quickly. I don't even know what it feels like. Guan Yanxin was indignant. This was the most important moment in her life, and it was gone just like that. She didn't even get to taste the sweetness. Vexation could be seen between Zhu Tian's brows. However, he was also worried that Guan Yanxin would not listen to his words. According to what Lai Gu said, I have to *ck her until she is completely obedient. Thinking up to this point, Absolute Heaven felt slightly nauseous. Fortunately, he had not eaten anything yet. Zhu Tian stood up. Guan Yanxin's beautiful eyes lit up. Professor Zhu's strength was very strong. Dongfang Yuan who was at the side, turned her head. She had already repaid him, and it could be said that she had fulfilled one of her wishes. Enduring the slight pain, Dongfang Yu stood up. However, she was pressed back onto the bed by Absolute Heaven, who had walked over. Standing by the side, Guan Yanxin gulped down a mouthful of saliva. She did not know why, but when she saw Zhu Tian pressing down on Dongfang Yu, she felt an indescribable sense of stimulation and excitement. Where are you planning to go? Zhu Tian asked coldly. Dongfang Yu didn't dare to look at Zhu Tian's eyes and weakly said, I'm going to class. Today, I'll give you a good lesson. You're not allowed to go anywhere, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice.
Today, he would make the two of them obedient.
As he spoke, he cupped his fists. Dongfang Yuaner's charming face was filled with shock. She felt as though her body was about to break apart. Her slender palm pressed on Zhu Tian's chest. Very soon, Dongfang Yuan let out an alluring moan. 2 minutes later. Zhu Tian, I can't take it anymore. Dongfang Yuan's stamina was unable to keep up with the tempo. Absolute Heaven was too ferocious, and Dongfang Yuan's delicate body was simply unable to endure Absolute Heaven's torment. Zhu Tian asked coldly, will you be obedient in the future? I'll listen. I'll listen to you. Dongfang Yuan felt like she was about to faint. Hearing Dongfang Yuan's reply, Absolute Heaven felt relieved. Guan Yanxin, who was at the side, couldn't wait any longer.
It was too exciting. Zhu Tian, come and get me. 10 minutes later.
I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. I surrender. Under Absolute Heaven's indiscriminate bombardment, Guan Yanxin persisted for 10 minutes before finally fainting. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything at all. Standing up, he glanced at the two people on the bed before disappearing from the room. Because I have important information to report to his honor. Today, Yi Hua woke up very early, and Qing Yutong also changed a little today. Qing Yutong actually woke up very early to prepare breakfast for her brother-in-law. Did Yi Hua still not know what Qing Yutong meant? She wanted him to let her sister off lightly? How could that be possible? Brother-in-law, is this porridge hot? Yutong will help you blow it. Brother-in-law, is the temperature of this milk okay? Do you need Yutong to help you heat it up? It's still human body heating so that you can understand it. Yi Hua, who was looking at Conan, turned his head around and asked, Yutong, are you that free? It's everyone's responsibility to serve their brother-in-law.
Then give birth to brother-in-law's children.
Ah, brother-in-law, you are so hateful, always thinking of doing bad things. Qing Yutong said while pinching her orchid-shaped fingers.
Yi Hua said faintly, then scram.
Bad brother-in-law, it has already been one night. Your anger should have more or less dissipated by now, right? Let's go and fetch big sister back together. Qing Yutong had done so much foreshadowing. Wasn't it all for the sake of them reconciling?
Yi Hua drank a mouthful of warm milk. Not going.
Brother-in-law, could it be that you don't miss Ali? Ali should also practice living independently. What's wrong with brother-in-law? In the past, when big sister gets angry, although he would also look angry on the surface, in his heart, he would always think of how to coax her. Look at this time, he completely doesn't have the intention of coaxing her at all. It has already been one day. Are they playing for real? Brother-in-law, Qing Yutong once again walked forward coquettishly and hugged onto Yi Hua's arm. Scram! All right. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. These two ignorant women, I gave them an entire night's time, and yet, they still haven't returned. From the looks of it, they are determined to go against me. Not bad.
Your guts have grown big, to dare to unscrupulously anger me just because you think that you are the woman that I love dearly.
Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Zhu Tian's figure suddenly appeared beside Yi Hua, then knelt down on one knee and paid respect to Yi Hua. Get up, is there any progress? Yi Hua drank another mouthful of milk. Sister-in-law's milk is not bad. It has quite a nice texture. Zhu Tian stood up and said respectfully, after subordinate sacrificed my physical body, I received a huge reward. Puh. Hearing Zhu Tian's report, Yi Hua spurted out the milk. Sacrificed your physical body, received a reward? Tell me, how did you sacrifice your physical body? Zhu Tian did not feel embarrassed at all. He told Yi Hua about the entire process, and he even sold out Lai Gu. It was clear that Zhu Tian wanted Lai Gu to be the scapegoat. However, after Yi Hua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was thinking about another question. Could it be that I didn't *CK them until they were completely submissive? Thinking about it, Donghuang Baiji made a move on me 3 years ago, while Qingya made a move on me only a few months ago. After tasting that wonderful feeling, they definitely wanted me to pamper them again, but in the end, I actually didn't do it. Thus, they became angry. This theory of Lai Gu's is not bad. He grasped the main point.
It is precisely because they are too energetic, and also because they have a grudge against me, that's why they came up with this plan. But even so, do you think that I am that kind of person? You two can do whatever you want. It is your honor for me to pamper you too. To actually quarrel with me over this kind of thing, after I teach you two a lesson, I will make you two unable to get off the bed. Let's see if you two still have the energy to quarrel with me. All right, how do you plan to deal with those two women? Yihua asked curiously. Could it be that this iron tree has blossomed? To actually force them to drink wine, I have never been so shameless before. Zhu Tian slightly lowered his head to show respect, then said, After this, I will fulfill their wishes. After that? Yihua continued asking. Zhu Tian wrinkled his brows. That's all. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, Zhu Tian, I will have to criticize you for this. Zhu Tian's expression tensed up, then immediately knelt down in front of Yihua, accepting the Supreme Overlord's criticism. Subordinate knows his mistake. Your Honor, please forgive me. Wait for me to finish speaking first. Yes. Zhu Tian continued to lean over and listen to Zhu Tian's words. Yihua didn't have any intention to wake Zhu Tian up and said faintly, Men should be responsible for what they should be responsible for. Although what you did can be considered as a play, you took away the other party's first blood, and furthermore, the first blood was taken away by you while you were deceiving them. It can be seen just how sad they will be when the time comes. But Your Honor, Zhu Tian really doesn't like women, he isn't targeting them. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained. Yihua's expression turned cold. Did I allow you to speak? Your Honor, please forgive me. Chapter 359. Zhu Tian. Your Honor, if you were honest, your wife wouldn't have left home. Just thinking about it was enough. Saying it out loud was a crime punishable by death. Thank you for your guidance, Your Honor. Get up. Thank you, Your Honor. Yihua flicked away that half a stick of cigarette ash and continued. In this aspect, you have to learn from Lai Gu and Wei Chong. Since you have already slept with them, in the future, I will stay by your side and properly serve you. I will be at ease. Just a moment ago, Absolute Heaven was still regretting. He regretted that he had impulsively taken those two women yesterday night, and he was even prepared to go and fight with Lai Gu. However, after hearing what his honor had said just now, Zhu Tian was so moved that he prostrated himself in admiration. So it turns out that his honor cares so much about me, and because his honor was afraid that I wouldn't have anyone to serve me, his honor found a woman for me. The sun and moon can bear witness to his honor's intentions. I, Zhu Tian, am terrified. Zhu Tian could be seen bowing respectfully to Yi Zichen, then saying gravely, Thank you, Your Honor, for showing concern to your subordinate. Zhu Tian, you two have followed me through fire and water for so many years. It is time for you two to enjoy life. The gentleness of human women is indeed pleasurable, but sometimes, I really want to beat them to death. Originally, he was quite happy about it. However, when he thought of Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's actions yesterday, he became angry. Zhu Tian said in a low voice, The wife chosen by his honor is definitely a phoenix among men. It is normal for her to have a bit of a temper. All right, stop putting in good words for them. Is there any progress? Reporting to Your Honor, it is a breakthrough. Yihua's eyes lit up. The sooner I can slap their faces, the better it will be. After all, the earlier they will be able to come back to me, the earlier I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to be living by myself, empty, lonely, and cold. Tell me. Yes. Following which, Absolute Heaven recounted everything that had happened last night, as well as some of his own thoughts. After hearing that, Yihua took a deep breath. Well done. Hearing his honor's praise, Zhu Tian felt that he had succeeded in selling himself. I hope Your Honor can give me some pointers. Zhu Tian was still very smart. All of the credit belongs to his honor, and I was only following his honor's instructions. Yihua was also very satisfied with Zhu Tian's attitude. Zhu Tian, what you mean is that we should spread the news about the longevity fruit to the north, thereby arousing the greed of the people in the north, and from there, we will be putting pressure on Voidless Realm? That's right. Yihua laughed lightly, and a trace of coldness could be seen in his gaze. Have you forgotten about their status in the south? Absolute Heaven frowned. Right now, the powers in the south are treating the two of them as female deities.
If the news about the longevity fruit had started from the south, I reckon that these people wouldn't be calling them female deities, and instead, they would be shouting that everyone is equal. After finished speaking, Yi Hua laughed lightly. The person you saved back then came back to cheat you. That must feel pretty good, right? In the end, you will understand a principle. Only I treat you the best in this world. Your honor is wise. Subordinate is truly too slow-witted.
Zhu Tian praised.
Yi Hua said faintly, if the distribution of the longevity fruit is not handled properly, voidless realm. He. Yi Hua had seen too many treasure-snatching battles. Regardless of whether it was an ally, a boss, or a brother, whoever that was in the way would be killed. Not to mention something that could extend one's lifespan. Luckily, Donghuang Baiji didn't tell me about this. If not, she would definitely suspect that I was the one who leaked this information. Not bad. But when I think about it, isn't he a little too distrustful of me? It's such a big matter, yet he didn't even tell me about it. In the future, I will definitely not spank you. Instead, I will make you beg for mercy. However, I will not forgive you. Upon thinking about how Qing Ye and Donghuang Baiji would be begging for mercy, Yi Hua couldn't help but feel pleased. Yi Hua continued, we must definitely find evidence to prove the injustice done to Dongfang family. We must do whatever it takes, but we must not be found out. I am really curious how they will judge this case. Also, think of a way to make those families fight against each other. Zhu Tian said solemnly, Your Honor, do you want subordinate to make some arrangements for Xiao family? You can make arrangements, don't let them be too idle. Yes. After finished talking with Yi Hua, Zhu Tian returned to the dormitory. Looking at the two young girls who were lying on the bed, Zhu Tian felt that he should rest for a bit first and think about how to set up a trap for Xiao Yi. As for spreading the news in the south, His Honor will make the arrangements. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the sofa, contacted Wei Chong. Right now, Wei Chong was currently waiting for Tang Wei in the university, and Wei Chong was currently holding onto a bouquet of flowers. This old man still knows how to be romantic. However, upon hearing His Honor's message, Wei Chong immediately disappeared from the campus. Coincidentally, Tang Wei rushed over at this moment and discovered that Uncle Wei wasn't around at all. To think that Uncle Wei said that he was going to give me a surprise. Your Honor. Go and having family, no. Send someone to spread a piece of news. Make sure that those families are the first to know about it. Wei Chong didn't like to ask too many questions. I only need to do as His Honor says. Yes. Yi Hua let out a breath. Right now, the chess pieces are already in place. Little Qing Ye and Baiji. How can the two of you be my opponent? Hurry up and come back and apologize to me. After that, promise me what you did to me unconditionally. Perhaps I will let bygones be bygones. When Wei Chong returned to the university, he looked around. Why isn't Xiao Tang here yet? Right now, at Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji had just finished holding a court meeting. After returning to Donghuang Li's courtyard, Qing Ye and Ali were temporarily staying together. Qing Ye was currently playing with Donghuang Li, and seeing that her mother had returned, Donghuang Li pounced onto her mother's embrace excitedly. Mommy, are we going back now? Ali didn't even kiss Daddy this morning. Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly. Ali, Daddy has been very busy recently. Didn't you see that Aunt Qing Ye and I have returned? Humph, Ali isn't a child anymore. You two just made Daddy angry. After saying that, Ali pouted her little mouth and put on a look of, you two are bad guys. The two women had a helpless look on their faces. This Ali is too biased. She is always on her father's side. Donghuang Baiji could only coax her daughter. Ali, be good. Play in Voidless Realm for a few days. After that, Mommy will bring you back to look for Daddy. Really? Donghuang Li asked while blinking her big eyes. And really? True, that's great. Don't look at how little Donghuang Li is. In actuality, she knows a lot of things. Taking advantage of the fact that she is a child, Donghuang Baiji made use of the fact that her daddy and mommy will not continue to quarrel with each other. After letting the maid bring her daughter to play, Donghuang Baiji sat at the opposite of Qing Ye and let out a sigh. Soon after, Donghuang Baiji poured a cup of tea. What's the matter? Why are you frowning? Qing Ye asked curiously. This Voidless Realm is a good place. It would be great if Yi Hua could come over and stay here for a long time. During the court meeting today, Yu Chuan reported a matter. Just last night, Bai family's young master was insulted by Tang family's family head. And in the end, Bai family's family head committed suicide by jumping off a building. Bai family's Bai Cixin requested for Bai family's family head to give him an explanation. However, since both families are candidates for the position of Bai family's family head cannot act recklessly. Dong Huang Baiji felt a headache. I told them not to fight, and now, someone even died. Chapter 360. Tang Wushuang also didn't instigate Bai Qi to jump off the building. Hearing Dong Huang Baiji's words, Qingya asked confusedly, Baiji, do you think that Yihua is adding fuel to the fire? After I heard it, I also thought the same way. Therefore, I asked about the situation at that time in detail. There wasn't anything abnormal. Tang Wushuang and Bai Qi had a physical conflict and started to scold each other. In the end, it became a tragedy. Qingya silently nodded her head. If this was really done by Yihua, how could there be so many details? That clumsy fool only knows how to touch all day long. However, Bai Qi suddenly jumped off the building for no reason, so the two women were a little suspicious. It had to be said that Absolute Heaven had handled the details very well, making it so that others would not be able to see the truth of the matter, making it seem as if it was real. Qingya asked, what do you plan to do? After all, you ordered them not to make a move. Now that someone has died, it seems to go against your words. This was what Dong Huang Baiji was puzzled about. If I don't pursue this matter, wouldn't I be slapping my own face? If he were to pursue the matter, what reason would he use to pursue it? Just because you scolded someone, that person's heart became weak and couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. Yet you want to pay with your life? This is too absurd. I have never encountered such a thing before. Qingya, what do you think I should do? Right now, Dong Huang Baiji really wanted to sleep on the bed and be hugged by Yihua. Now, he had only been out for a day, and something very troublesome had already happened. It was hard for Qingya to say who was at fault, but she did put forward an interesting point of view. Baiji, if this matter was arranged by Yihua, what is his intention? Qingya said with a smile. Dong Huang Baiji took a sip of tea. Those moist lips were Yihua's favorite. If Yihua is really the mastermind behind all of this, then his goal should be right now. The two women looked at each other and smiled. With Yihua's personality, it is indeed possible. However, in the end, it is just a hypothesis, and there is no evidence to prove it. Right now, Qingya also missed Yihua. If Yihua was here, he would definitely have a lot of crooked reasoning. Although his reasoning was a bit crooked, it seemed to be effective. Could it be that she had wronged him? But you can't yell at me like that. No matter what, I'm your wife. What's wrong with saying a few nice words? Women don't need to be coaxed. On the contrary, Yihua never knows how to coax a woman. The two women discussed for a long time and finally came to a conclusion. Tang Wushuang gave a warning and consoled Bai family by giving them a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal dew as an excuse. Very quickly, the two families received the same result. Tang Wushuang was very unhappy with the warning punishment. What does that brat jumping off the building have anything to do with me? To actually give me a warning punishment, will I be punished or not? When Bai Cixin, who was wearing a white cloth on her head, received Voidless Realm's result and a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal nectar, there was not a single ripple on her face. She twisted open the bottle cap and sprinkled the bejeweled jade immortal dew in front of her little brother's memorial tablet. Clearly, she was not satisfied with this punishment, and even more so, she was dissatisfied with Voidless Realm. The murderer was actually only given a warning. Meanwhile, Yihua also stopped his wife's punishment and sneered, "You are truly soft-hearted. The more benevolent you are, the more others will think that you are easy to bully." As a big power, Voidless Realm had to display their iron-blooded side. You have too much to learn. However, this kind of punishment was within Yihua's expectations. It isn't your fault to be kind, the fault is to be kind to bad people. At this moment, Absolute Heaven was in the middle of a lecture, and he was being assaulted by the gazes of the female fans. However, he still had to retain his identity as a university professor. On the way back to the dormitory, Yihua bought some food. After all, there were still two women upstairs. Originally, Yihua wanted to let the two women fend for themselves after the mission ended, but since his honor had already spoken, he decided to let the two women stay by his side and serve him. However, looking at the lunchbox that was in his hand, Absolute Heaven felt that it wasn't the two women who were serving him. Absolute Heaven still didn't understand what his honor meant. The serving that Yi Hua said was not the serving that Absolute Heaven was thinking of. As a boss, Yi Hua naturally had to share his happiness with his subordinates. However, Absolute Heaven, who was like a cat, didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness, and instead, he felt that his chest was stuffy. Opening the door of the dormitory, Yi Hua saw the two women wearing his shirt and sitting at the table eating instant noodles. A young lady wearing a man's shirt has a different flavor, especially when there is nothing inside the shirt. If it was Lai Gu who was here, there was no need to say anything. Lai Gu would definitely speak with his strength. However, Absolute Heaven shifted his gaze away after taking a glance at the two women. "I bought some rice for you too." Absolute Heaven placed the casserole rice on the table and said faintly. Guan Yanxin took a glance, then teased, "Professor Absolute Heaven, you made our little sister Yu suffer so much that she wants to die, and you want to send her away just like that?" Dongfang Yuer's face immediately turned red. "How could that be? Professor, don't listen to her nonsense." "Then do it again with Professor Ju." "No." Dongfang Yuan Air rejected as expected. However, Absolute Heaven was unhappy. Chapter 361. Especially when he saw his younger sister taking advantage of that girl, his breathing actually became hurried, and he almost revealed himself. It was too exciting. Absolute Heaven spread out his hands and said, "Actually, I don't mind you peeking." Guanli was shocked. "Actually, what I care about is that you entered my house without my permission. You didn't even take off your shoes." Absolute Heaven's gaze emitted a sinister chilliness. His pupils actually changed to that of a feline. Cats were very fond of cleanliness. The three men were shocked by the scene in front of them and took a step back reflexively. Suddenly, they felt something grab their feet. He lowered his head to look. Countless ghostly hands appeared on the floor as if they were trying to break free from the shackles. However, these ghostly hands grabbed their legs and dragged them down with all their might. Guan Li's body seemed to have sunk into a swamp, gradually sinking. No matter how the three men struggled, it was useless. "Brother-in-law, let's talk this out." Guanli didn't think too much about it and hurriedly begged for mercy. This man's strength had been wrong. I'm listening." Guanli was speechless. "I'm not asking you to listen to me. I'm asking you to let me go. Brother-in-law, let me go. I won't peek next time." Guanli's eyes were filled with terror. Both of his feet had already sunk in, and even that disgusting ghostly hand was touching his chin. What was even more frightening was that he could still feel his feet. Someone was tearing his pants. He even took off all his clothes. Furthermore, Guanli screamed in pain, and so did the two men behind him. On the bed, Guan Yanxin pursed her lips, turned over and hugged Dongfang Yue. The scene was extremely alluring. Guanli endured the pain and shouted, "I'm Yan Xian's brother. If you kill me, she will hate you for the rest of her life. She won't know." Guanli was speechless. "I feel so powerless talking to this man. Yan Xian, quick, save brother, this is a demon." Guanli shouted at Guan Yanxin. Sitting at the bedside, Absolute Heaven said indifferently, "You saw it for yourself just now. I beat them down." "You!" "Don't worry, I will treat your sister well." Guanli stared at Absolute Heaven with a dumbfounded expression. "Are you sure you want to say such words at a time like this? Isn't it inappropriate?" "I curse you, woo." The three heads gradually disappeared, and the floor returned to normal. "Hey, Mr. Ju, it's so noisy." "Who's shouting?" Guan Yanxin whined. "Unimportant person, since you're awake, let's begin." No." From what Lai Gu said, when a woman said no, it meant that she wanted it. Absolute Heaven once again became enraged, causing Guan Yanxin to lose the strength to even move her fingers. On the other hand, Dongfang Yuana was much smarter. Even though she was awake, she was still pretending to be unconscious. However, who was Absolute Heaven? Did he think that he would be fine just because he fainted? Dongfang Yuer's pleas for mercy rang out in the room. Could this be considered as just escaping from the wolf's mouth and entering the tiger's den? Of course, the former was resisting, while the latter was willing. Unlike Li Gu's reaction was instinctive, and he also enjoyed it. Absolute Heaven was not enjoying the process. Rather, he was enjoying the instant of pleasure. He had to admit that the 7 deadly sins all had their own unique tastes. In actuality, Yi Zizi's taste was a bit heavy as well, just that she didn't show it. At night, Absolute Heaven planned to pay a visit to his father-in-law and create an alibi. This brother of his still has some value. Although your wives are kind, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. Guan Yanxin was driving the Ferrari, while Absolute Heaven was carrying the frail Dongfang Yuaner and sitting on the front passenger seat. Dongfang Yuaner was wearing a dress, and right now, her dress had already reached her waist. Guan Yanxin, who was driving, would tease Dongfang Yuaner from time to time. I feel that I have already fallen in love with this kind of life. Just what kind of life did I live in the past? Thinking about it, it feels so dull and boring. Guan family was situated in the mountainous area outside of Zijin City. It was an old residence. Right now, the interior of the residence was brightly lit, and it seemed like something was being held. Guan Yanxin stopped the car and got off the car to take a look, then muttered, "Today is actually the gathering of the aristocratic families at the end of the month." Do the aristocratic families even gather for a gathering? Absolute Heaven supported Dongfang Yuaner, who was standing unsteadily, and asked curiously. Guan Yanxin nodded her head. This is a rule that has been passed down from generation to generation. Perhaps, it is because the aristocratic families wish to interact more with each other and not become unfamiliar with each other. However, Voidless Realm might not have thought that not only did this kind of gathering not achieve the desired effect, the things that they did were also disgusting. Guan Yanxin added. The corner of Absolute Heaven's mouth curved up slightly. Information came again. There are some things that I can't ask too much about. It would only be reasonable for Guan Yanxin to say it herself. What disgusting things. Absolute Heaven pulled Guan Yanxin to his side and caressed her body with his palm. If not for the fact that she was wearing a dress, his palm would have already entered her body. Being caressed by Absolute Heaven, Guan Yanxin immediately felt weak. Fortunately, there were not many people at the place where the car was parked. However, she felt that it was very exciting. There are too many of them. I usually don't participate in this kind of gathering. Guan Yanxin only felt excited when she was with Absolute Heaven. It wasn't that she was a loose girl, she was relatively conservative. It was just that when she saw Absolute Heaven bullying Dongfang Yuan, she couldn't endure it anymore. Because Dongfang Yuan looked like she really wanted to go and bully her, and even Guan Yanxin, who was a woman, wanted to bully her. Hearing Dongfang Yuaner's sweet begging sounds, Guan Yanxin felt so good that her soul would leave her body. Dongfang Yuan had such a great charm. Therefore, Absolute Heaven had picked up 2 treasures. If Li Gu were to come across them, he would definitely be jealous of Absolute Heaven's luck. To be able to get 2 such unique women while doing a mission, his luck is too good. Especially Dongfang Yuan. In the end, even Yi Hua was envious of Absolute Heaven for being able to have such a woman. Not only Yi Hua, every single man from the 7 deadly sins was envious of Absolute Heaven's luck with women, and in the end, one of the 7 deadly sins wanted to protect Dongfang Yuan and fought against Absolute Heaven. Meanwhile, Yi Hua sat at the side and watched the show while eating sunflower seeds. The feeling that Dongfang Yuan gave off was, "Everyone, quickly come over, there is a soft girl here, quickly come and bully her." Seriously, bullying Dongfang Yuan feels so good. Especially when he heard Dongfang Yuan's soft begging sounds, even Absolute Heaven felt good. One must know that Absolute Heaven had never felt good before. In the past, he didn't even have any fluctuation in his emotions, and right now, he actually felt good because of Dongfang Yuan. This is even more interesting than killing someone. Absolute Heaven, why are you always bullying little sister you? Guan Yanxin walked at the side and supported onto Dongfang Yuan. This caused Dongfang Yuan to feel very grateful. My entire body is already completely devoid of strength, and I feel as if my entire body is about to float. Guan Yanxin added on, even if you want to bully her, you should at least call me along. Dongfang Yuan. Right after Dongfang Yuan finished speaking, Yi Hua gave the weak and gentle Dongfang Yuan a long kiss. Absolute Heaven didn't mind at all and said faintly, "All right, let's go in first, We will play again after we return home tonight. Play again. Chapter 362. Miss. 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 The guards at the door shouted respectfully. However, they felt that it was a little strange. Why was the young miss carrying a blushing and weak beauty in her arms? And looking at the young miss, she seemed to be very evil. The man next to her was full of righteousness and was a gentleman. Guan Yanxin supported Dongfang Yuer and nodded to the guards, then walked in. He didn't forget to take advantage of Dongfang Yuer. As the daughter of an aristocratic family, she naturally had some strength, but Dongfang Yuer didn't, and could only be manipulated by him. How pitiful! Zhu Tian, on the other hand, did not wish to meddle in their private matters. He looked around for a moment, preparing his plan. Now he had a good idea. Dongfang Yuer was originally from the Dongfang family, and if she could obtain an ancient godly item, she would definitely be able to participate in the selection. However, I will also be suspected by your madam. Regarding this matter, I still need to discuss it with His Honor. I cannot act on my own accord. Yan Xian, don't bully Yuer anymore. Zhu Tian glanced at Yan Xian, a hint of helplessness in his tone. He saw Guan Yanxin pressing Dongfang Yuer against the wall. She was currently enjoying Dongfang Yuer's cherry lips without the slightest bit of restraint. Who knows where her pair of delicate hands were touching? The pitiful Dongfang Yuer was passively enjoying all of this, and she felt as if her soul had gone astray. Hearing Zhu Tian's words, Guan Yanxin stopped her frivolous actions. However, when she saw Dongfang Yuer's delicate and pitiful appearance, she wanted to bully her again. Zhu Tian protected Dongfang Yuer in his embrace. All right, stop bullying Yuer. Professor Zhu spoke up for you. Guan Yanxin said with a beaming smile. The latter buried her head deep into Zhu Tian's bosom. This isn't an ordinary tiger's den. I'm really worried that my body will be torn apart by them. Hugging Dongfang Yuer, Zhu Tian asked, Yuer, are you happy? Dongfang Yuer's face couldn't help but turn red, and she couldn't help but recall the matters of the past 2 days. She felt that it was too sudden, as if her life had changed in an instant. But was he happy? It seemed to be a little like being cared for like this. Professor Zhu, in that case, can I make a request? Dongfang Yuer said weakly. Just this tone alone was enough to show that he wanted to bully her. Zhu Tian nodded his head. Go ahead. Dongfang Yuer said in a low voice. My body is weak. Can I not do it every day? According to Lai Gu's experience, when a woman says this, it means that she is not satisfied. A satisfied woman would wish that you are like this every single day. No. Zhu Tian felt that Dongfang Yuer was the one who was dissatisfied with him. This is something that concerns the success rate of His Honor's mission, and I cannot be sloppy about this. It seems that I will have to take special care of Dongfang Yuer. Dongfang Yuer was in despair. However, this expression of despair gave Zhu Tianmeng the urge to bully her. This woman was just asking for it. I will help you wash away your family's injustice, and let you become the family head of the aristocratic family. That was what Zhu Tian planned. However, this wasn't the life that Dongfang Yuer wanted. Zhu Tian, thank you for what you've done for me. However, I don't want to be some family head. Then what do you want? Zhu Tian asked. A stable life. Dongfang Yuer's wish was very ordinary. She wanted to study hard, find a stable job, find a man she liked, and live a simple life. However, she was sold off by her mother. However, she met Zhu Tian, and was destined to not be an ordinary person in this life. Zhu Tian said indifferently, You will have this kind of life. Dongfang Yuer's heart trembled, then immediately after, her heart was filled with sweetness. In actuality, being bullied by Zhu Tian like this was something that she was willing to do. After all, Zhu Tian was her benefactor, the second person that was good to her, and this was enough for her. On the other hand, Zhu Tian's words of love that aren't easily spoken can be given full marks. If Zhu Tian had this kind of ability, wouldn't Qingya and Baiji become obedient rabbits? Unfortunately, Yihua wanted to save face. Using Yihua's words, I will not say those mushy words of love. If not for the fact that they deeply loved Yihua, Qingya and Baiji would definitely not be able to endure Yihua's temper. Very soon, the three arrived outside of the banquet hall. After the guards went to inform the guards, the three walked into the banquet hall. The banquet hall could be seen to be very grand. All of the utensils on the table were spirit artifacts, and even the red carpet on the floor was spirit artifacts. Therefore, the items that were sold in the auction that day were all things that Yi family did not want. However, for ordinary families, those items could be stored away like treasures. Guan Tong sat on the main seat. After all, this banquet was held by Guan family this month. Yi Xiao, Jiang Yuanzhou, Chu He, and an unfamiliar middle-aged woman. This woman's appearance was not beautiful, but strange. Because the left side of her face was not symmetrical with the right side of her face, if this kind of face were to appear at night, it would definitely scare people to death. This woman was the family head of Duan family. Her name was Duan Ho, and her name was just like her name. She did not have the ability to become pregnant, and thus, she did not have any children. Of course, this was because she was harmed by someone, which was why she changed her name to Duan Ho. Her temperament was also strange, and she liked to torture men, especially handsome men. From the looks of it, this Duan Ho is also a woman with a story. And when this Duan Ho saw Zhu Tian, interest appeared in her big and small eyes. "Father!" Guan Yanxin shouted out tenderly. She did not feel that she had lost face at all. Zhu Tian was her sky, a man that could make her feel as if she was in heaven. Zhu Tian was very formidable. He merely nodded his head towards Guan Tong. Most importantly, he was hugging another woman. Jiang family knew about the inside story, while the other three families only heard about what happened last night. Chu He laughed heartily. Congratulations to family head Guan for obtaining such a handsome son-in-law. There was obviously a belittling intention in his words. Handsome son-in-law. Isn't that the same as saying that he is a gigolo? Isn't that a person from Bai family? Zhang Yuanzhou asked curiously. Guan Yanxin smiled and added, little sister Yu had escaped from Bai family's control and regained her freedom. She was fancied by her husband. For an aristocratic family, this was not a big deal. It was just taking in a concubine. Guan Tong appeared to be very angry. His chubby face was trembling, and his double chin looked extremely disgusting. The person behind Chu He was naturally Chu Bo, a man who couldn't find his big brother. And he was currently sizing up Dong Fong Yuer. During the auction that day, this girl was also present. Looking at her trembling appearance, he really wanted to bully her. It wasn't only Chu Bo who thought so, everyone thought so as well. That delicate appearance of hers could indeed cause others to feel pity for her, but that was only for ordinary people. To them, there was also a hint of bullying within the pity. It would definitely be very fun to bully such a girl. Indeed, even Zhu Tian felt secretly happy, especially when Dong Fong Yuer was begging for mercy in a low voice. That helpless expression, that expression of her biting her lips, the value was so great that it could explode the heavens. Guan Tong thought that his son had already succeeded, but in the end, not only did he not die, he even came here. If it wasn't for the fact that there were so many people here, he would have directly killed him. Chapter 363. Because the family head did not let his daughter sit behind him. Guan Yanxin, on the other hand, didn't mind. She was already tired of this kind of life. Her life with Zhu Tian was filled with excitement and temptation, and she liked it even more when Zhu Tian conquered her. Sitting at the back, Zhu Tian and Guan Yanxin did not continue to bully Dong Fong Yuaner. After all, there were many people around. Guan Yanxin showed her concern. She knew that Dong Fong Yuan was very weak, and she probably didn't even have the strength to raise her hand right now. Guan Yanxin personally peeled fruits for Dong Fong Yuaner to eat to replenish her strength. Dong Fong Yuaner was very grateful. She had been bullied by Zhu Tian 4 to 5 times today, and she had no energy left. What is my big brother secretly talking about? Guan Yanxin saw her big brother, Guan Li, walking towards her father and whispering, causing her father's face to darken. Zhu Tian silently drank a mouthful of tea. This alibi should work. Next, it will depend on Bai family's reaction. Whether or not something happens tonight will depend on how much Bai Cixin dotes on her little brother. Right now, a funeral was being held in Bai family's castle, and various family heads sent their sincere condolences. Among them, there was even a youngster who was looking around. This youngster was Do Fusher, who had not appeared for a long time. Zhu Tian needed an unfamiliar face to go to Bai family to say a few words. However, in the group, the madam seemed to have never seen Dou Fusher before. Today, Dou Fusher received the black-gowned big brother's order, and immediately went to Zijin City. According to the order, he killed the Tang family's little brother who came to mourn, and then came himself. The current Dou Fusher was no longer the youngster who only knew how to catch ghosts. Even big shots had to submit to him, let alone a small family. This kind of mission was not difficult at all, and the black-gowned big brother even told him to be careful.
A guest has arrived.
Dou Fusher opened the flower wreath in his hand and shouted out gravely, "Northern Tang family has sent their blessings, Pa, they have sent their condolences." Bai Cixin, who was wearing a white muslin dress, slowly raised her head and looked at Dou Fusher with killing intent in her beautiful eyes. Wang Debao also stared at Dou Fusher. This Tang family came to send their condolences. It was obviously a deep irony. Dou Fusher swallowed his saliva. "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. I'll just follow my lines." Cough. Patriarch Bai, you don't have to be sad. Patriarch Bai said that it's a good thing to have one less tumor in society, lest more tragedies happen in the future. Clan Head also said that he is very sorry for Bai Qi's death. He hopes that Clan Head Bai can restrain his grief and give birth to a son soon. Dou Fusher immediately woke up. "Wu Wu, you scared me to death, big brother, and you still dare to say that there is no danger?" GGG, Imperial Translation. Of course there is no danger, aren't you fine? Dou Fusher's heart was filled with despair. After experiencing the thrill of death, this feeling is simply too terrifying. Sun Fong came over with a bowl of porridge. "Drink some porridge, today's mission was done very well." Dou Fusher happily received the bowl of porridge. "Thank you, sister-in-law. Eldest sister-in-law treats me the best. It seems that she can't forget me, but it's not convenient for her to express it." At this moment, in Tang family's manor, Tang Wushuang was actually sitting in front of the dressing table, and his two wives were currently helping him put on makeup. Her expression did not change. Although she was disappointed, it was better than seeing her husband collapse. "Am I beautiful?" Tang Wushuang's voice had completely changed, and his face had also changed. Everything had changed. Quan On-rong looked at her husband in the mirror and took a deep breath. Her husband's appearance was getting better day by day, and he was about to lose to her. Furthermore, there was even a hint of flirtatiousness between her brows. Beautiful. Quan On-rong didn't dare to imagine what would happen next. It was the same for Mu Jia. Her husband had become neither human nor ghost, and she still had to keep smiling. Tang Wushuang stretched out his long and thin finger and stroked his own beautiful face. He was incomparably happy. So this is how it feels to become a woman. It seemed like his mentality had changed. Suddenly, Bai Cixin's delicate shout resounded from outside the house. "Tang Wushuang, get out here and pay for my brother's death." Tang Wushuang's brows wrinkled, then snorted, "Ignorant woman." "Wushuang." His two wives called out worriedly. Tang Wushuang said, "You two stay at home and wait for me to kill that bitch." Be careful. Tang Wushuang's current strength was much higher than before. If Tang Wushuang was a Santana in the past, then he was currently a Portia. Looking at Bai Cixin, Xiao Yi, Wang Debao, and the others who were in front of him, Tang Wushuang shouted out, "What are you looking for me for?" Chapter 364. I'm Tang Wushuang. When he said that, half of the Bai family was stunned. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, she is Tang Wushuang? Even if he had run away from the Koreans once, there was no way he would end up like this. Xiao Yi walked forward and shouted, "Stop acting mysterious, call Tang Wushuang out." "I am Tang Wushuang." Tang Wushuang was also very angry. No one actually believed in him. In that case, he could only take out the ancient divine weapon piercing tomb. After obtaining Voidless Realm's confirmation, Voidless Realm returned the Ling Qi back to Tang Wushuang. Everyone looked at the ancient godly item in Tang Wushuang's hands and rubbed their eyes. Is this really Tang Wushuang? After all, an ancient godly item would only appear in the hands of the patriarch. Who would give it to someone else? Are you really Tang Wushuang? Wang Debao found it hard to believe, This kind of woman is actually on the same level as my wife, my god. Also, how did Tang Wushuang's chest muscles become so big? Tang Wushuang's beautiful face sank, and in an instant, he emitted out a world-shaking spiritual energy, causing everyone from the Bai clan to be dumbstruck. If this person wasn't Tang Wushuang, then who could it be? Bai Cixin's killing intent was firm. No matter whether you're Tang Wushuang or not, I'm going to bathe this Tang clan in blood today. Bai Cixin, are you out of your mind? Voidless Realm had instructed us again and again. So what? You sent people over to humiliate me, so I'll definitely return it to you today. The 9 demons punishing tower had already appeared in Bai Cixin's hand. Wang Debao took out a set of shiny golden armor from the system, while Xiao Yi took out the Shenyuan sword. Tang Wushuang recalled the people he had sent out and said in a deep voice, "Where are my people?" "Kill him. You dare to kill my brother-in-law." Tang Wushuang immediately emitted out a sharp killing intent. "I'm not only going to kill your brother-in-law, I'm going to kill your entire family. Bai clan, listen up. Slaughter the Tang clan." In order to avenge her brother, Bai Cixin was willing to pay any price. It could be seen how much she valued her brother. Tang Wushuang didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Today, he indeed had the intention of flirting with her by asking people to go and mourn her. However, he didn't expect that there would be such a result. However, Tang Wushuang wasn't scared and he shouted, "Tang clan's people, listen up. Kill." In an instant, both parties started fighting against each other, and right now, Tang Wushuang was actually able to fight against 3 people by himself. It could be seen that this cultivation technique was indeed powerful. In the villa, Gue Chengren stood by the window and looked at the situation outside, and his phone suddenly rang. "Aya, it's updated." He immediately started reading. However, Chu Bai still didn't know that the 2 of them were already dead. "However, I didn't kill them. They were the ones who forcefully snatched women. I was injured in order to save them. Fortunately, they lent a helping hand and I managed to keep my life. However, we really didn't kill them at that time." Chu Bai's words were not convincing at all. It was full of loopholes. How could the 2 women be a match for Yi Tai and Sage Doctor? They didn't even know how to lie. Yi Xiao said to Chu He, "Old Chu." Chu He said in a deep voice, "Who knows, maybe those 2 women framed my son? Isn't that right, Chu Bai?" Chu Bai knew that his father was helping him, but he really couldn't afford to offend them. "No, they are very strong, but they are good people." Chu Bai hurriedly explained, telling everyone not to offend them. Yi Xiao said gravely, "Seems like we have to go and invite them to be our guests." "Unfilial son. Take him down." Chu He shouted out angrily. "My son definitely didn't kill anyone, and I reckon that someone framed him. Could it be this Empress Duan? She was the one who instigated this matter." Dong, dong, dong. Suddenly, the bell rang throughout the entire Guan family. Guan Tong suddenly stood up. "Guards! What happened?" An imperial guard hurriedly ran over and said in panic, "Family head. An assassin came. Eldest young master he." "What happened to Guan Li?" Guan Tong's small eyes suddenly opened wide. Eldest young master was assassinated. The entire banquet immediately became silent. The son of an aristocratic family was assassinated in his own home. This was a slap to the face. This was a humiliation to the Guan family. "Where's the assassin?" Guan Tong shouted. "The assassin is still escaping." Right after Guan Tong finished speaking, a black figure quickly passed through the sky. Without even thinking, Guan Tong chased after the black figure. The other 4 family heads paused for a moment, then chased after the black figure as well. Chapter 365. "Yan Exin, let's go catch the culprit," Zhu Tian said indifferently. He then brought the 2 women with him as he gave chase. After all, if it was too far away, it would be difficult to control it. Some corpses were still quite useful. A black figure was seen running away at high speed, followed by the clan masters of the 5 great clans. Such a situation was unprecedented. Behind them, Zhu Tian carried the 2 women in his arms as he leisurely followed behind them. "The matters that happened tonight will cause your wife to be vexed once again. If your wife is willing to listen to his honor's words, I wouldn't have to do all these things. At this time, the Tang family manor was flowing with blood. It was too horrible to look at. The ground was littered with the corpses of people from both sides, and broken limbs. At this moment, Tang Wushuang was also heavily injured, and blood was flowing down from his arm. Bai Cixin, Wang Debao, and Xiao Yi all had different kinds of injuries on their bodies, but they were just minor injuries, so they were nothing to be afraid of. It seemed like even with the three of them joining hands, Tang Wushuang was still unable to handle them. Wushuang. And Rong isn't going to make it. A few pretty wives ran out of the villa. Quan On Rong's face was pale. There were no wounds on his body, but he was twitching as if he had been cursed. This was the vengeful spirit of the 9 Demons Punishment Pagoda. Quan On Rong did not expect it to be entangled with him. Tang Wushuang's expression changed greatly as he ran to the front of his beloved wife. The ancient godly item that was in his hand fell onto the ground, and he hugged onto Quan On Rong. And the ancient godly item that fell on the ground suddenly disappeared. Gue Changren kept the ancient godly item, shook his head, and prepared to leave. "And Rong!" Tang Wushuang shouted out. Quan On Rong's delicate body was entangled by the vengeful spirits. Her expression was one of agony, and it looked like she was about to die. Tang Wushuang's expression was flustered, and he hurriedly shouted towards Bai Cixin, who was in the sky. "Bai Cixin, if you have any grudges, come at me. So what if you killed my woman?" "Tang Wushuang, what about you? So what if you killed my brother?" Bai Cixin had no intention of letting go. "You killed my younger brother, so I'll kill your woman. I'll let you experience the pain of losing a family member." Xiao Yi, who was at the side, looked at Tang Wushuang, who was far away. "That helpless look of his is extremely similar to me back then. What was the difference between his actions and black robes? But for the family. They had no choice but to do so." Irony. A huge irony. When Tang Wushuang saw that his beloved wife was getting weaker and weaker, he actually turned around and knelt down to Bai Cixin. "Bai Cixin, you can take my life but let my woman go. Dream on. I want you to watch her die. You." Mu Jia shouted out, "Wushuang and Rong Shi." Tang Wushuang turned his head around to take a look, and his beloved wife had already left, and that pair of beautiful eyes of hers was currently looking at him. There was a look of reluctance on his face, and he even stretched out his hand, as if he didn't want her to give in. "And Rong. And Rong." Tang Wushuang rolled and crawled on the ground as he hugged onto his beloved wife. Smelling that familiar scent, Tang Wushuang let out a painful howl. That mournful howl caused Xiao Yi's expression to turn gloomy, and he couldn't help but recall that day when Cindy died in his embrace. "Bai Cixin, I want your life." All of a sudden, Tang Wushuang burst out a terrifying evil aura. Black lines appeared on her pretty face, making her look sinister and terrifying. Sharp teeth actually grew out of her skin, making people's hair stand on end. The spiritual pressure emanating from his body was even stronger than before. Bai Cixin and the others' expressions darkened. What kind of monster is this? However, a black shadow suddenly appeared in the middle of the two sides and stopped. The clan heads of the 5 great clans immediately appeared at the scene. Looking at the scene in front of them, their brows furrowed. The Tang and Bai clans were actually having a bloodbath. The casualties are so tragic. When Bai Cixin and Xiao Yi saw the 5 family heads who rushed over, they were a bit surprised. Didn't they come over too quickly? When Tang Wushuang saw the 5 family heads rushing over, the sinister expression on his face gradually faded away, and he returned back to his delicate appearance. Tang Wushuang immediately kneeled on the ground and begged, "Family heads. This Bai Cixin is vicious. He killed my beloved wife and exterminated my Tang family. Family heads, please uphold justice for me." Bai Cixin hurriedly explained, "Family heads. This Tang Wushuang sent people to cause trouble at my little brother's mourning hall and humiliated my Bai family." "But didn't my brother-in-law still get killed by you?" Tang Wushuang shouted out. "I also want to kill your whole family." The 2 family heads each held onto a statement, and Yi Xiao shouted out, "Everyone, be quiet." Only at this moment did everyone see that the black-robed man in the middle seemed to be very weak. Guantong questioned coldly, "Who sent you to kill my son?" Tang and Bai family were startled. This black-robed man killed the son of an aristocratic family? Isn't this a bit too awesome? The black-robed man seemed to know that he wouldn't be able to escape, and he took a deep look at the four family heads who were standing together. This gaze seemed to be telling Guan Tong that the murderer was one of the four family heads. Meanwhile, the expressions of the four family heads changed. This is framing. The black-robed man suddenly slapped himself. Don't. Guan Tong wasn't in a hurry to stop the black-robed man, and he could only watch as the black-robed man turned into blood mist and fell onto the ground. Guan Tong slowly turned his head around and looked towards the other four family heads. Who was it? Who was the one who called him here? Jiang Yuanzhou said gravely. Family head Guan, please calm down. Jiang Yuanzhou, was it you? Yesterday, I made you lose face, and today, you killed my son. How could Jiang Yuanzhou be able to stand being framed like this? He shouted out. Guan Tong, without any evidence, don't slander me. All of you are suspects. I will report this matter to Voidless Realm and have Voidless Realm give my Guan family justice. After finished speaking, Guan Tong left. The other four family heads looked at Tang family and Bai family, and Chu He said gravely, you all can just wait for Voidless Realm's punishment. The four family heads hurriedly left. Bai Cixin clenched her teeth and shouted out, retreat! Bai family head. Xiao Yi shouted out. This Tang Wushuang is letting him go just like that? Family head Xiao, the aristocratic families have already interfered. If you continue to kill him, it will be a crime punishable by extermination of your family. After finished speaking, Bai Cixin left with Wang Debao. There is a difference between fighting secretly and fighting without listening to others' advice. You are still afraid of the former, and you are completely not giving face to the latter. Xiao Yi looked at Tang Wushuang who was carrying his wife, then let out a light sigh, then turned around and left. Today, I didn't manage to kill him, and instead, I still have to wait for Voidless Realm's punishment. I am truly unlucky. With unwillingness, Xiao Yi left Tang family. Meanwhile, Tang Wushuang who was carrying his wife's corpse walked into the house. This hatred is getting bigger and bigger. On the other side, Zhu Tian was carrying Dong Fengyue and Guan Yanxin who had already fainted. Looking at the faint light emitted from the forest, Zhu Tian carried the two women and walked towards the light source. Gue Changren who was reading a novel suddenly stopped his footsteps, then turned off his phone and asked, Your Excellency, what's the matter? Zhu Tian placed the two women down, then rubbed onto his eyes and said faintly, Lend me that dagger. Gue Changren turned around and looked towards Zhu Tian. Why? Because it isn't yours. Zhu Tian looked at Gue Changren coldly. He didn't like this person at all. Gue Changren chuckled. I have seen arrogant people before, but I have rarely seen someone as arrogant as you. Seems like my arrogance didn't disappoint you. Do you want me to fight with you? Zhu Tian asked curiously. Chapter 366. After setting up a barrier to protect the two women, Zhu Tian rubbed his eyes and said faintly, If I move a single step today, it will be my loss. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Too arrogant. Gue Changren had never seen such a pretentious man before, to actually dare to say such words. Unbearable. All right. If I am unable to kill you today, you can take my life. All right. A breeze blew past, and a few fallen leaves slowly fell to the ground. The sound of the leaves swaying against each other could be heard. This made Zhu Tian recall some things. Hurry up and finish this. Then go back and make them submit to me. Gue Changren took out Ci Ling. Although Ci Ling is only a dagger, its might cannot be underestimated. Back then, Tang Wushuang even used it to pierce through Xiao Yi's armor. It is not an exaggeration to say that it can cut through iron like mud. And Gue Changren's understanding of Ci Ling seems to be even more thorough. Spiritual cut. Following Gue Changren's shout, the spiritual energy on his body gradually spread out and actually rushed towards Ci Ling. Ci Ling greedily absorbed the spiritual energy like a 3-year-old child, and the blade of the dagger became brighter and brighter. Spiritual test. Gue Changren raised Ci Ling with both hands. A layer of black clouds suddenly condensed in the sky. Boom! Boom! Thunder suddenly sounded out, and one after another, lightning struck down. Ci Ling was like a lightning rod as he absorbed the power of the lightning. Spiritual cut. An even more powerful spiritual energy gushed out from Gue Changren's body, and gradually, the spiritual energy actually turned into a small white ball. Gue Changren bit his finger, and a drop of blood slowly floated into the small white ball of spiritual energy. In an instant, the small white ball of spiritual energy turned red, and soon after, the small white ball of spiritual energy merged with Ci Ling. Right now, Ci Ling was alternating between white and red, emitting a wild might that sounded like the roar of 10,000 beasts. In front of Zhu Tian's eyes, it was as if the end of the world had arrived. Right now, Ci Ling was no longer a small dagger. Rather, it was an existence that was even more ferocious than an ancient godly item. This Ci Ling had already surpassed the level of an ancient godly item, which made Zhu Tian a bit curious. And after Gue Changren finished using the buff, he became a lot weaker. After many years of comprehension, I have finally come up with this move. What bullshit, voidless realm. This move of mine will be able to take the Empress's head. After many years of comprehension and application, this was what Gue Changren had learned from reading novels. Initially, he was just trying it out of curiosity, but he didn't expect to succeed. Reading novels was really a good thing. Absolute Heaven nodded his head. This person was indeed very powerful, especially that move of his. Speak. Just what are you here for? I'll leave you an intact corpse. Gue Changren questioned. Zhu Tian calmly replied, I just wanted to use your dagger. Used for what? Gue Changren asked curiously. My handmaiden is a member of the Dongfang family. As her master, I naturally have to help her clear her grievances. Humph. What a big tone. Washing away the injustice of the Dongfang family. Then I want to see if you have the ability to do so. Gue Changren's eyes focused, and the spiritual energy on his body rose once again. It frantically engulfed the scene and caused a rumbling sound. As for Gue Changren, he turned into a black afterimage and attacked toward Zhu Tian with deathly aura. His speed was so fast that it made people exclaim in admiration. Unfortunately, he had encountered Absolute Heaven, one of the 7 deadly sins, bearing the mind. The right-hand man of the Supreme Honorable. Absolute Heaven slowly raised his hand and extended his index finger. Shwa! His index finger revealed a cat's claw, which glowed silver under the moonlight. Ding! The cat's claw and Ci Ling clashed together, and a muffled sound rang out. The sound was especially ear-piercing, and this sound actually turned into a sharp blade that engulfed the surroundings. All of the trees were chopped down, and a rumbling sound could be heard. Clearly, this is a dagger that can't even be considered as a nail clipper. Zhu Tian looked at Gue Changren, who was absent-minded, and said faintly. Gue Changren blankly looked at the man in front of him. This is impossible. That attack from Ci Ling just now had the might of an ancient godly item. How is it possible for him to block it with his fingernail? This is impossible. Even the main character in the novel would not be so abnormal. Why is he able to block it with his fingernail? Ci Ling fell onto the ground powerlessly. Zhu Tian stretched out his palm, and Ci Ling slowly fell onto his palm. Gue Changren collapsed onto the ground and asked absent-mindedly, Are you really able to wash away the injustice of the Dongfang family? I never lie. Zhu Tian said with his hands behind his back. His voice was even a bit lower, and he was imitating his honor again. Gue Changren seemed to be at ease and said faintly, Come, end my life. All right. He swung the dagger in his hand and pierced through Gue Changren's heart before returning to his hand. Gue Changren blankly looked at his chest that was bleeding, and then looked at Zhu Tian. Why is this man not following the routine? Shouldn't he be curious? Shouldn't he ask first? Was he not surprised by her expression at all? Why did he kill himself without even thinking about it? Do you have anything else to say? Gue Changren. Fuck, I'm about to die and you're only asking. Can't you be a little more attentive? Actually, I am also a member of the Dongfang family. Back then, I was the bodyguard beside the patriarch.